Going on? Just waiting for the two homies to pop up. Fine, a good time for people to come in. And we'll start from there. Make sure I got everything tagged. Discord's good. It'll be recorded on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch the playback. And it shouldn't be that. I don't think we're gonna. It's not gonna be like a Mr. Bean RVH thing. We sit up for 3 hours. We'll probably do like a solid 45 minutes and try and cut it at 5, if not. I just busted my ass all day at work. I had to work the line by myself. I'm trying to sit here in front of the computer longer than I have been. But other than that, it will be recorded. It'll be up on YouTube then. I'll put where and how far to fast forward in the future. That way you don't gotta sit here and listen to this shit. Taco, what's up, homie? All right, well, let me turn this music off before Evergreen gives me bullshit for it, because it's podcast time. First, I'll bring the new one up so I can say some words before GVG comes up. But Evergreen, what's up, homie? Welcome.
What's good? What's good?
How have you been?
Doing good, man. Audio's good. Sound good.
Your horses are ass because you're terrible at managing them. I just want to get that out real quick. That's
hey,
it.
You come in
real quick.
Hey, bro, I came in on some DJ shit. I gotta stay on it, bro. You gotta put them in big money right away.
You know? I saw. I had a heart attack behind the scenes doing it.
You don't fucking when you jump into the pool, bro. You don't take the steps, bro. You just swan dive in the deep end. That's how you do it.
Reckless.
And then you got to go for some style points along the way.
You got style points, all right, but no, I think you're running the opposite way. I looked at a couple of them, and I think you're just at the opposite end of the spectrum. You need to come down to the sprints on 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I didn't know if it was marathon sprints, bro. This is
how I got you. Don't worry.
You want to know how I find a race?
I don't.
I see right turf. Okay, it's not gonna rain, and then I find the highest entry, and then I say I'm picking that one, and then I put my horse in that one.
You know who you should partner up with? You and Zook would be a great fucking duo together. I don't know if you ever thought about that.
I think so too.
You guys would be great. All right, that aside, I just had to get that out before. Now I'll welcome the GOAT. There's no need for introductions because everyone knows who he is, and if you don't know, you're living under a rock. Probably one of the top tier digital horse trainers I know. So, welcome GVG. How you been?
What's up, fellas? Hey, doing great. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Wonderful.
Let's go. What's up, Evergreen? Hey, man, it was a breath of fresh air to see you, dude. I'm glad that you have chosen to get involved and making a splash as you do. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to getting into the breeding reports and answer any questions you got on the game. Try and just grow your knowledge base, as you know, get yourself in the best positions you can to succeed. I think you're going to love the game, man. I'm sure you've already seen it's a different level of strategy, a different level of of what it takes to actually be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. But there still is that degen, element that big wicks and big rolls can happen. And we also have seen plenty from majors and things like that the best horse in the race does not always win,
Right.
and there's a lot of, I mean, Doughboy just pulled off another major with a horse that I think it was its first win ever, wasn't it?
0 for 18.
0 for 18, and then it won a major.
And hasn't won since the major. So he's really good. So yeah, there's definitely it's definitely a lot more deeper than what you came from with Zed. Like there's just more layers on top of it. It's basically I compare it as chess to checkers. We played checkers in Zed. That's my personal. Hold on, let me I got this.
Right. Okay. So GVG.
That's my personal view on that. And this is chess. We're playing 3D chess, honestly.
When did you make have you made a full jump to photo finish, or do you still play Zed Run?
Which one?
I haven't played Zed in forever. I think the last time I entered a horse in a race was probably like 7 or 8 months ago, and that was like hadn't entered a horse in a race before that for 4 to 5, 6 months, and I did it just to kind of see what was new, if anything changed. And I was like, oh, no, literally nothing has changed. Okay, I'm good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I made my big exit when I sold diamonds, and then I kind of talked a lot of shit on Twitter. But no, I haven't touched it. It was I kind of had for me personally, diamonds was such a dystopian story and like a once in a lifetime moment. To where when I explained it to people to this day, they can't comprehend, like just the level of some shit like that, right? Like first off, digital horse racing, and then NFTs, and then crypto. It's pretty crazy. And I was able to quit my job off of that horse that I bought from you. So when I made my circle back into photo finish, I was like, all right, if I'm gonna run it back, there's nobody better than to come back and buy from again. But no,
I appreciate that, fam.
Yeah, I didn't realize you bought it from GVG. I didn't know that until now. Is that real?
Yeah, man.
Oh shit! 3 years. I haven't known that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get off my animosity on it, and I was a little bit hurt by it. I'm like, wait a minute, man. This dude just for real got like one of the best horses I ever bred. But honestly, looking back, I'm glad that it happened the way that it happened. I mean, there has to be opportunity for everyone, or else, what's the point, right? And so those kind of stories, we've seen them, being recreated here in photo finish as well. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more of them. And yeah, man, hey, I appreciate your faith in me and coming back to me. It always comes full circle, right?
Of course, man. I got one more question for you, because I've kind of looked at you've always been, somewhat of a whale in the either Zed Run or now the photo finish space. What gives you the comfortability to put this much money into like an early ecosystem and have the confidence to kind of stand behind what you're putting your money into?
Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, Zed was like a completely different thing. This was kind of the first I had ever been exposed to digital assets that you can actually, compete with, earn money with, and it had the crypto element tied in. That just drew me in. There wasn't a whole lot of due diligence being done on the Zed side. It was just like it was kind of the first thing available, something that I totally thought I could vibe with, and then went in on it. And obviously, it helped when you see other people spending money. Then it kind of helps to kind of, solidify your confidence a little bit. Photo finish was the completely opposite way. I, like many others, was coming out of a negative experience with Zed. Financially, I made money with Zed, but, even more so than that, it just hurt me to see what the team let happen there and kind of and I don't want to turn this into a Zed bashing stream at all. You know what I mean? I don't say anything negative about them publicly. I just kind of let them do their thing. But so coming out of that experience, photo finish was something that I got exposed to, obviously, from a bunch of the Zed community members and friends. Didn't make any moves, was just like, I don't even really know, man. This, Zed just kind of, I don't know how this is all going to work out. Long story short, I started to look into, photo finish, like the team, a little bit more. Started seeing, that they had already had an in-app game called Horse Racing Manager. Saw the amount of downloads that it had, the success that it had in the Apple Store. Then learned about Ian, his background with Madden. I was a big time Madden player competitively for years. Was always like a top 1%er in the ranked type of stuff. Haven't played the last couple of years because Madden just kills me. They haven't changed anything. But anyways, so like I grew up with this affinity for Madden. And then, when I saw that Ian was, I can't remember what his title was at EA, but I'm pretty sure he like oversaw, at the end of his career at least, oversaw the vast majority of production and things going on with the Madden franchise in general. And so it was just like, hey man, like this is a proven team. They already have a proven game. It makes total sense of why they would take this game, transition it to the blockchain, take advantage of the momentum of the crypto side of things. Makes total sense. So that's when I started to pique my interest. Then I started to dive into like more of the just like the specifics of the game, the functionality of the game.
Right.
When I learned that horses age, when I learned that horses can only race until they're 8, a lot of things started to make sense for me. Like one of the biggest things that I think was kind of the demise of Zed was if you have a diamonds. Or better yet, if you don't have a diamonds and you have a horse that's constantly having to run against the diamonds, it's very, very difficult to ever overcome that,
Right,
And so with diamonds never dying, never retiring, you're kind of just like your ceiling is shot. You know that you're never going to compete. And so one of the things that really drew me to photo finish and that I enjoyed and felt bullish about from just a longevity standpoint was that, unlike in Zed, if you're breeding a horse, sure there may be a diamonds and out there that you're going to have to compete against, but that diamonds may be slightly older than yours, and he's going to be retired by the time yours is really coming into its prime. And then also just the different archetypes. In Zed, everybody was just in the same races. The only difference was distance preference. That's the only thing that you can kind of pick and choose your spots. Photo finish, you have all the different archetypes. So if a diamonds is born in right dirt, it don't affect you if you're in left dirt. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so there's just a lot more. The competition is spread out between archetypes, and then in addition to that, you have the aging aspect of things. So there's just constantly a fresh, new produce of young foals hitting the track for the first time. Horses that are coming into their 3 and 4 year old age seasons that are really coming into their peak performance, and then the tail end of the aged ones that someone's keeping on the track because it's been kind of an overperformer to their expectations. And so because of that, you just you constantly have a changing landscape of competitive who you're running against. Versus in Zed, you got the one of the top 5 16-meter horses in the game. For the next 2-3 years, you're going to be running against diamonds and probably losing the third of those. You know what I mean? And so it's just the monotonous of that. I saw that the game, the team had solved for that, and that was something that I was like, okay, I could actually get behind this, because if things are fresh and constantly kind of new and something to look at, that engages me. But when something is stale and on autopilot, like that's boring to me. That's something that I don't really want to be a part of. So yeah, I think it was kind of a culmination of all those things. But I will say, me individually as a person entering photo finish versus entering Zed, 2 totally different people with 2 totally different ways of looking at risk assessment. So the fact that I went as hard into photo finish as I did should tell you something about how I felt after I did all my due diligence,
Roger that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, or you could just do what Evergreen did and saw I was streaming and decided to yeet money into the ecosystem. You know, uneducated and educated. It's my favorite. Two
It
sides.
was funny, man. I wasn't like watching the stream live. I was doing some stuff outside, and then Doughboy actually sent me a message in Discord and was like, "Yo, Evergreen's on here about to just snap up your horses, bro." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I went and looked at horse sale. I was like, "Oh man." So then I went back and watched the stream. It was so funny to watch y'all go through stuff. But I think you really did make some good selections. I'm excited to get into some of the breeding reports, talk about kind of, the strategic kind of decision making behind who I placed with who and what. And then I think, Evergreen, we can go into these horses' performance thus far, and then start to break down a little bit about what we're seeing, what my expectations were for distance preference when I bred them, and then kind of go into a little bit more on the just like race selection, proper way to find and gauge a horse's distance preference as well as ability. I know you appreciate the Degen side. I do too.
Yeah.
But the Degen side, I think I mentioned this on a stream a couple of months ago. There's no better way to find out what your horse really is than to put it into some larger pot type stuff. So like people that, there is no right or wrong way, but the people that make the argument of you should never enter a stakes race until you've ran your maidens and found your distance and blah, blah, blah. Yes and no. I mean, some horses, if it's a really, specific distance preference horse, you may run 8 or 9 maidens before you find your primo distance. And, the opportunity cost of losing out on all that time is something to be said for too. Or you have a horse that, let's face it, you just didn't get the breeding role you were hoping for. This horse really isn't going to be what you were hoping for. The fastest way to find that out is to go into some graded stakes, see where you line up, versus going in a bunch of maidens and having a bunch of placings and a bunch of really close fourths and stuff like that.
Right.
And kind of dragging you on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and especially if you get a race like once in every 24 hours, I'm trying to rip the Band-Aid off as fast as possible. Now, for me, when I looked at buying these horses, Arrow, Almighty, Big Zaw, Arrow was full of Lucky Money, which was your most expensive horse. And I was kind of asking Doughboy, like, why would he list that one for I think it was 150, something like that. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy it. Same thing when I race him, I'll just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. So for you, why did you list this horse at that price? And as far as breeding it, what was your thought process behind that horse?
Yeah, so the pricing of things a lot of times is dictated by the archetype, and what specifically goes into that dictation is population size. So naturally, right, everything always goes back to supply and demand. So if you're in an archetype that is a lower supply and the demand is high, then naturally the prices are gonna increase there, right? And so this is more just the pricing was more just a product of that than anything else. Obviously, I think I don't know, Doughboy, if you have it there, you can look and scroll back and look at Lucky Money. But I want to say I purchased Lucky Money for 800,000 Derby, 1,000,000 Derby, something like that. Premium, non one of one bloodlines. What was it?
969,000.
Yeah, so that's what I bought the mother for. So obviously, this is not a case of, I have some cheap horse and then bred it and just market it up for a profit kind of a deal. I just wanted you to know and see that.
I already knew. That's why I came to you and I was just like, fuck it, I'm buying it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And this is one that we can get into the breeding report if you want, Doughboy. So yeah, this is one, that at the time that I bought Lucky Money, there was really a small population. And so that's why I had to pay that premium, right? But I knew that, having a piece like that early on in the game really puts you in a position to be able to hit some good breeds and really position yourself well for the long term. So this was one of those horses that, when it came to breed this time for this breed specifically, I wanted to go with a stud that I had not gone to yet. I'm a big believer in, if you have success somewhere, go back to it. But also, you got to take shots from different places to really even understand what potential is, And so Space Pin was a really good stud on the track, really good racer. That, who was that out of? That's
Spongeworthy. It's Venus Vibes. Venus Vibes is the
exactly. Venus Vibes was one of the top Gen 0 fillies in the game. I think from like a racing perspective, she underperformed, but that's also, you have to factor in at the beginning of the game, Evergreen, for the guys who own like the Gen 0, the original crop of horses, everybody was in a race to retire. So at the end of everybody's 3-year or at the end of everybody's 2-year going into 3-year season, everybody retired their horses. And so I think that some of those horses, when you look back at their racing performance, you kind of have to italicize it because a lot of them didn't even really get a chance to fully mature. You know what I mean? Because everyone was just in a hurry to retire and breed, as they should have been. That's what the game needed at that time was population growth. And so,
gotcha.
So with this one, the stud Space Pin, really strong stud on the track, evenly distributed grade statistics for the attributes. When you look at here, Doughboy, I'm going to send you one link real quick, just so the nice little comparison that they, when you go to breed those two, just so you can see the stat profiles next to each other. And this is probably like good just for Evergreen to hear and kind of learn some different ideology on the breeding side of things. But there's a couple of different approaches, and I guess that you would say like a couple of different opinions of the proper way to select the breeding pair. So you have a camp that is big believers in whatever your strongest stat profiles are, you go find a mate that shares those similar stat profiles. A lot of times it's called stacking strengths is what it's referred to, right? So, and then you have another camp that's like, hey, if you have a horse that has a really good stat profile, but it has 1 or 2 stats that are lagging, then you need to go find a pair that is strong in those lagging stats to help boost up those lagging stats to give you a better overall horse. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way. We've seen success from both. We've seen, bred horses that are purely just stacking on top of both parents' strengths. And we've seen horses that are like the strengths of the parents are completely mismatched, but they got a really good roll and they got a really nice balanced horse that ended up being a killer on the track for them. So for me, for this breed specifically, this was kind of that in the middle approach. Lucky Money was a good racer on the track. This is a horse that I was putting in nothing but big boy pots and graded races, and she performed really good considering that. And then on the stat reveal, she had a couple lagging things, speed and heart. And then anybody who knows me knows that those are 2 big ones to me. So when it came time to look for a pairing for this, I really wanted to bring those 2 stats up as much as I could. So Space Pin was a really good option here with an S plus in speed, trying to bring the speed up. And then on the heart side of things, SS minus heart. I'm a big believer in heart. We've seen horses win majors without heart, but if you go kind of on the data side of things, and if you're a data, driven type person, then the data leads you to believe that heart is not mandatory, obviously, because we've seen it, horses win without it, but it's a really crucial and important part of the overall makeup of a horse if you're wanting to compete at the highest level. That's the big caveat there. If I was attempting to try and breed the highest performing lower grade horse, an S minus, even an S nowadays could be made that argument for, an A plus. I might even be trying to maximize the attributes for the distance preference that I think my horse is going to be the best at with the pairing that I'm pairing it with, and sacrifice heart, because we've seen that heart generally comes into play for the most part on graded races, which a lower graded horse is not going to be in graded races, or we've seen it in the majors, which a lower grade horse is not going to be in the majors. So one could argue, how important is heart for an S minus? I don't know where I stand on that, but I know that, I typically like to play at the high end, and at the high end, heart is something that's important. So that was, one of the big reasons that I went with Space Pen. The other reason is just they have these kind of very offsetting attributes. If you look through their stat profiles, it's almost like whatever one is good at, the other one, that was a lagging stat for the other one, all the way down to temper. Lucky Money actually had an S plus temper, whereas Space Pen only had S minus. And so my goal for this breed, because every time I breed a horse, by the way, I breed a horse to keep it. Later down the line, I look up and decide, what do I want to sell? I have to sell some stuff every now and then. I'm over 400 horses now, so I'm actually really going to have to start selling stuff now. I've typically sold like 2 to 3 horses per season max, very little selling. But just as the populations increase, it's just something has to give somewhere. But like when I originally bred this horse, my goal for this horse was to try and create a really balanced stat profile horse that is like dependable on the track. If it's not an absolute killer, that's fine. I can live with that, but just something that's going to give me a really solid base to then continue to breed from. I'm a long-term kind of minded individual. I approach that same long-term mindset in all of my breeding decisions. I'm not trying to hit a home run with every breed. A lot of breeds I do. But this was one that I was like, let's go out and find a stud that's going to put us in a position where the foal is going to be something that I'm going to be excited to breed forward and continue the bloodline on down. So yeah, that's a long-winded, sorry, I've been talking forever, I feel like, but that's a long-winded kind of reproach of why I chose this stud.
And that's perfect as well, because like when I'm getting into a game, I'm like, hey, potentially I can hit a home run on this horse. Worst case scenario, I have a base to breed from, and you're starting a stable, right? So it was kind of like a perfect layup as far as your breeding analysis, and then kind of what I was looking for.
Exactly, and to go back to you and D-Boy's stream when you made these purchases, I will say D-Boy led you in a really good direction in terms of like the mares, the fillies, but the fillies specifically, that he was pointing you to and encouraging you to were all fillies that are like have wide open options for studs. Like there's a lot of different studs you can go to, and the options and the variety is really important. When people kind of pigeonhole themselves into buying a filly that, like, sure, that filly may be a little bit better on the track than another filly, but if that filly only has 1 or 2 studs to choose from that are, high-end viable studs, then you may actually be behind when you look up 3-4 seasons from now and you've bred that horse a couple of times, comparatively to a maybe slightly lesser filly, but can breed with anybody, because she doesn't have any kind of inbreeding quirks that are holding her up. So
right.
So D-Boy did great on that. Yeah, D-Boy, I still gotta get you a kickback on that, man.
I appreciate everything.
Yeah,
obviously not needed.
I know.
But
I always will take care.
I'm up here grinding. I'll never say no, but it's always,
of course,
it's not mandatory. I don't mind it. Like I said, when I get to have like Mr. B, RVA, you, like when Sowers would pop on, Stans, like when I can have you guys on here, that's more than enough payment for me. Like that's real, like knowledge. Like I said yesterday too, it's like knowledge is everything. And if you're able to pick the brain of the bigger stables and understand what they do and how they come in, I told people a few weeks ago, like I look at your breed log. I look at Sour's breed log because I'm in right third and he's in right third. Like, I look at y'all's breed log to see what you're doing, to see if I should be doing that or if it works for me. Like, there's always ways to learn how to get an edge or to take the next step forward on things. But yeah,
absolutely,
having bigger stables come on and just talk about knowledge of the game, that's way more than enough payment, honestly, because now it's out there. Now it's accessible to everyone. Whereas,
well, I appreciate that.
It wouldn't be another day, but
I appreciate that. And one of the cool things about PFL and Evergreen, I'm sure you've probably been exposed to it a little bit now, but as you move forward in the game, you'll appreciate it even more. Is just there really is no like right or wrong way.
Right.
It's very, very similar to a complex strategy game, whether it's a board game, video game, whatever you want to be. There's 150 different ways to outmaneuver your opponent. There is not a set in stone right or wrong way. And so, getting a bunch of different opinions and exposing yourself to a bunch of different opinions, and then taking those opinions into consideration and formulating your own plan, like that's my favorite part of the game.
Mm-hmm. I know bankroll is different for everybody, but like, let's say you started fresh today, right? And you wanted to compete at the highest level. Now, you knowing what it takes to compete at the highest level, like, what would you recommend for somebody to come in today? Like, you have to have it. One, would it be strategy over money, or two, how much money do you need to compete at the highest level as somebody getting into the game today?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say I'd have to bucket those people into one or two things. A, is it a person who's looking for like immediate high-end success? Or is it a person who is saying, hey, I'm going to be here for 6 to 12 months minimum, and I'm willing to grow and grind to get to the top tier? If it's the former side, then it's going to require some bankroll. I mean, that is what it is. If you want to be at the top immediately, you got to pay for that. Unless you were to, I mean, we've seen some diamond-like stories of people buying, let's just, for lack of a better phrase, a very mid kind of a filly or mare, right? Who had a very, very pedestrian average racing career. Previous owner retired her, listed her on the market for cheap. They didn't love the stat reveal. New player comes into the game, buys that horse for cheap. She's already pregnant. They look up 10 days later, she birthed an S plus, and what do you know? That S plus actually ends up being a killer on the track. Like, it's happened, And so there are those diamond kind of stories that happen, but just like diamond, those are very, very few and far between. They are the outliers, right? They are the lottery ticket, And so expectations should not be to hit the lottery every time, right? But if all you ask for as a player is that it's there. There's an ability for it to happen, right? So back to the question, if you're looking to be a player at the top end immediately, I think it's going to require some bankroll. However, there's literally never been a better time to come in and buy pieces that can compete at the top than right now. You have just a lot of the early adopters of the game, the larger stables, myself included, as I referenced earlier, are looking up and going, damn, I got a lot of horses, and I wish I want to run all of the horses and find my best horses and then really hone in on those and kill it with those. But man, it's a lot of horses. It's a lot to manage. And so, large stables have to sell horses. We have to. It's just unmanageable not to. Because of that, prices have came down considerably. I mean, like we just looked at what I paid for Lucky Money, versus what her foals are going for. And so never been a better time for a player, high end or low end, to come into the game. Sincerely believe that. With me in my mindset, like, let's just hypothetically say if I was working with a smaller bag, I did not have, a large amount of funds coming into the game, I would be probably looking to come in and acquire as many bred mares as I could, specifically bred to stallions that I feel like have an opportunity to have a nice upwick and create a good racer. You're kind of getting a 2-for-1 off the bat by buying a pregnant mare, which is something that I thought was, amazing when I got exposed to it. In Zed, there was no such thing as selling a pregnant mare. You hit breed and then you immediately got your foal. So, that is a kind of one of those that I think that, especially on the marketplace, when you look at pricing, a lot of times these pregnant mares are out there for, cheaper than unraced. And I get it. Unraced has the upside of it could be a diamonds on the track, but does that, small percentage chance of that horse being a diamonds justify it being that much more expensive than a horse that's you already see the stat profile for, you already know what their distance preference was, and they're already pregnant. Someone already paid that stud fee, and so you're getting a mare, in a few weeks or a month at the most, you're getting a foal, and you get to breed your mare again. So, pregnant mares is probably the best bang for your buck for someone on a limited budget coming into the game right now. If it was me, that's probably where I would be going if I didn't have a larger budget.
Yeah, that's smart. Going back to it being chess, right? There's more than one way to play it.
Absolutely. And then a lot of it too is just about that, when I started it out by saying you got to separate it into two buckets, it's just really like, what is each individual, what is their goals? Do they have expectations to be at the top day one? Then you're going to be making strategically different moves from day one than someone who is playing the game to try and, build the best base they can, knowing that they are going to be paying attention and make intelligent, informed decisions, and they know that will pay off down the road, because that's a fact in PFL. And Zed, I don't even, let's not even go into Zed anymore, because But one of the things, I named my stable in in Zed from the get off GVG genetics. You know what I mean? It wasn't a racing stable. The breeding component is what drew me the most to digital horse racing. And then when I find out in Zed that actually nothing really matters who the parents are, it's a complete just random roll, that crushed me. I was like, dude, so bloodlines literally mean nothing. What this whole time I've been investing and trying to figure out and learn these different, bloodlines and trying to match stuff, to come to find out that actually it was just completely random. The complete opposite is true in photo finish. We've seen people who are making intelligent breeding decisions start out with, very, very average assets, and now they're competing at the top just because they made good decisions on the breeding side of things. And so that's something that I really love about the game. The ability to actually have confidence of the decisions that I'm making on the breeding side of things are actually, tangible to the outcome, and not just a complete slot, pull, and just,
Right.
Anybody and everybody has the same chance of creating a 12 furlong killer as I do when I'm breeding 2 12 furlong killers together, So the realistic aspect of breeding and the passing down of traits is something that I love about the game.
Right. It pays to put that strategy into it. So now, knowing that you put your strategy behind breeding the Full of Lucky Money that I named Arrow,
yes.
if you had to critique my racing and as far as what your racing game plan was, what would you say?
Yeah. So, for this one specifically, let me get in here to
See,
I yeeted him in this one.
Yeah, I think you're on the right spot with going long, because from the report, everything's pretty much even. Start's kind of nice. I would assume sprint, but the mother was a mid, and homeboy had some long distance stats. But I think you had the other thing that'll help you is understanding the fleet figures too and how to use them properly. So you ran last at 6 furlongs. You ran a 60.
Okay, right? Yeah. Wait. So fleet figures is a little green F.
Correct.
This is basically your So you don't know about you didn't have any a real horse racing background, did you? Outside
Nah,
of
bro. I see high money
so,
entry and I say, let's go.
In real life, every horse is given a score at the end of the race based on strength of field, times ran, blah, a lot of stuff that goes into it to make the recipe work. So each horse is given one of those. So same here, each horse is given a number after each race. So if you know how to read them and pay attention, it helps you a little bit more trying to figure out where you go. With GVG, do you have an example of how you use fleet figures? Because everyone obviously everyone's is different, and I like yours too as well. But
yeah, so I mean, fleet figures specifically, I think that the biggest tangible thing you can utilize them for is early on in a horse's career to help point you to the distance preference that you should be running them. I mean, they can get a little bit wonky on some different track conditions and also race types, specifically with yielding for track conditions, and maiden sometimes can have some wonky fleet figures. But other than that, I mean, if you put your horse in a 4 furlong race, it's an S horse. If you're seeing fleet figures 65 and below, there's a really good chance that your horse is probably really going to want and appreciate a longer distance race. We've seen some monsters. So like, I don't know, Evergreen, if you remember, but for all of our Zed listeners, they may appreciate this. I mean, so one of the best strategies in finding young, talented horses in Zed was looking at a maiden race, finding a horse that had the best odds but finished dead last, right? And there's a similar kind of a play in photo finish where if you go and look at a horse that ran a maiden, and if it had the best morning line odds or close to the top morning line odds, but then it finished dead last, that's a pretty good indicator that that horse has something under the hood. It's just being ran completely at a distance that it does not like.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of people who will give up on a horse or be like, oh my God, there's no sense in even entering this horse. It just ran a 52 fleet figure and it's an S horse. I look at that and I'm like, holy shit. If it's a 52 at 4 furlongs, the game is literally trying to tell you, like, bro, you need to go as far away from this as you can in the other direction. And typically what we've seen is that actually ends up being a really strong distance type horse. The ones that get the most difficult to make sense from is the mid distance type horses when it comes to fleet figures, in my opinion, at least. I don't know about you, Doughboy.
I'm sorry, I'm responding to chat. I apologize for missing that.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying, I think that fleet figures, at the end of the day, the toughest thing to take and engage fleet figures on is if you have a true mid-distance horse. That's where it gets the most difficult, and then I just really go to placements more than anything else.
I mentioned to Evergreen last week, like when I go to run, most of it, so like with the right third stable, like my Gen 0 was S start, S speed on S minus, so I was sprinting. And she was going to stallions with S plus and S plus start and speed because we were making sprinters.
Yeah, mostly A speed, right?
I always just test. I test the extreme. I that's the one thing I take from Zed is I test the extremes first. I'm either going 4-5 or 11-12, and working my way from there. Because obviously, if you pull a very poor number at one of those distances, like you said, you're going the opposite way. If you pull a poor number there, well, then you go to the mid. If you pull a poor number there, well, then you got to search for, it's usually just a spike distance that you have to search for, which stinks because it's more discovery, but it's also a little bit fun too.
Yeah. So if we hop into like Arrow's Maiden there, Doughboy, if you don't mind.
What was that? One more time.
Hop into Arrow's Maiden, like open up the Maiden. Yeah. So first and foremost,
above his belt too. In the Maiden.
Exactly. I was going to point that out.
Yeah.
So you have an S horse, you put it in an S plus maiden. So right off the bat, you're saying I'm going to be going against probably the majority of horses in this race are going to have a higher overall grade than mine. Does not mean they're better horses. Does not mean that your horse isn't going to win. But when you look at law of averages, typically there's going to be more stronger horses than yours in a grade restricted race that's higher than your horse's grade. So that's number one. What I will point out, though, is when you look at morning line odds, and we can get into morning line odds if you want to, Doughboy, but my quick and dirty kind of takeaway on the morning line odds is they are a great indicator of kind of a raw ability of a horse. Because I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I feel like the morning line odds don't change as much as they should for distance preference being accounted for. Like the example I was giving you earlier, if you got a horse that's in a 4 furlong race, maiden, and it has the best morning line odds, and then it comes dead last, and then the next race you put it in a 12 furlong race, and it blows the field out of the water by a second and a half. Realistically, that horse should not have been the morning line on favorite in the 4 furlong if the game was taking into consideration distance preference. But the game is simply just taking into consideration how strong is this horse overall, right, comparatively to its peers in that same race. And so one of the things that I was looking at when I went and looked at this field specifically was you got your S horse against a bunch of S pluses. But if you look in here, I mean, the morning line odds is 7-1. So like I have, Abominable Dreams I had in here, which is an S plus. I'm 6.94. I mean, those are the same to me. That's not enough of a difference for me to consider either horse to have an advantage in that race, morning line odds wise. Then you go up to, the 2 horse that finished 6th, Space Gin, that's 6.98. You're right there with that. The next horse up, 6.84 is its morning line odds, Lady Spring. The 6 horse, 6.84. You're right there with that. I mean, my general rule is if you're within half a point of morning line odds, I consider those equal. I don't really consider one even being a favorite over the other if it's within half a point. Then you have your first, you have another S to compare to there. Space Mission is 10. Absolute Horsepower had a nice morning line odds on their 8 horse that finished 7th there. Picture in my head. 5.99 from an S is strong morning line odds. I'd be curious to see what that horse did in its second race and where it went distance and how it performed. But my big takeaway here is, the horse that finished 2nd place, Classic Tammy, 7.3 morning line odds. You had better morning line odds than that horse. So my takeaway would be that under the hood, your horse has overall a better stat profile than Classic Tammy, who finished 2nd. So this just further leads me to believe that this was more just, about distance preference and less about ability.
Perfect. Yeah, that's cool. I was kind of peeping the race, and it was cool to see you in there as well. Supreme. It was funny as well because Supreme Polarity was a familiar name.
Exactly.
I saw you bought that horse for like 5 bands, and it smoked all of us. I was like, oh, that's very familiar. I remember that feeling.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's I think I put Arrow into like a big race coming up. I don't know. It's let's see here. It's
send me the link in private if it didn't.
All right, bet.
Jump already, but
go ahead. Sorry.
Touch on that. The maiden. So we talked about Absolute Horsepower's horse, and I did go and we looked at it. Its next race was 2nd at 10 furlongs. So
exactly.
That's another thing to look at too. If you finished last, who finished above you, and where did they go next, and did they do good or not? But also, for me, it's easier because I understand the fleets a little more. But you jumping up and hitting a 69 in a long distance race, like that's not terrible. The winner of the actual race pulled a 74, I think, or 75, and you're 6 points away, and you finished 6 spots away. But like,
yep,
your fleet went up, but you also jumped way up in class again.
Yes.
Question for both of you guys: do horses have you guys seen horses from your experience get better as they age?
100%. I was literally going to be my next point I was about to jump in with is the other variable in all of this when evaluating a juvenile is this aging component in Photo Finish Live. And we have seen all kinds of different molds, if you will, of how horses age. I can give some examples myself. I mean, I had a horse that went out its first race ever. It's maiden. This was an S horse in RDF. Its first race ever was a 9 furlong yielding. It went out and won that maiden, and it posted, I want to say it was an 88 or an 89 fleet figure as an S horse. Went on to run that horse 30 plus more races, never won again. And so I can't 100% certainty say that this horse was just like one of those really early bloomers, or if that wasn't the case, or if it was just a freak outcome or what. But you definitely can have a different variety of how horses age. And so, like I talked about earlier, people giving up on horses. I also can show horses in my stable that didn't win a race their entire 2-year-old campaign. Then they turned 3, they started placing, they got a win here and there. And then by the time they were 4 or 5 even, they're winning big pot grade 1 races one after another. And so, you have to just keep in mind that not all horses, like in Zed, you put your horse in a race, you knew what you had for the lifetime of that horse right off the bat. Whereas this is a little bit different. You have to, take in mind of, is this horse underperforming currently, or is it overperforming? And how should I strategize based on that?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, to tie in kind of what we were talking about earlier with morning line odds. So if you have a horse that is, and I've had a few of these, if you have a horse that its first race you put in a 4 furlong sprint, you're the money or the morning line odd favorite, and you go out there and it runs terrible, you're like, okay, well, at least I know I have some skill under the hood. I know I got something here to give me be the favorite morning line odds. It didn't like sprint, so obviously this thing just needs longer distance. So then you go to longer distances. Once again, you're the morning line odd favorite, and you still horse runs like crap. Once I've done that through a few different distances, that's a horse that I will literally set to the side and say, I'm going to let you just hang out for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'm going to come back to you and run you again wherever you had the most success prior, because I'm guessing and betting that that's just going to be a little bit later developing horse, because it wouldn't have been winning in morning line odds if it didn't have the ability, if it didn't have the underlying stat profile. So if morning line odds are big for me, and just kind of understanding the overall stat profile that's underneath this horse. And then if you're the morning line odd favorite, and you're not finding any success early as a juvenile across any distance, you can pretty much hang your hat on. You have a good horse. It's just one that is going to take a little while to age. And there's a lot to be said and argued for. You'd rather have a horse that's peaking at age 3 and 4 than age 2. I will say that, because from a return standpoint, from an earning standpoint, everything is bigger at ages 3 plus than it is at age 2.
And I can see how somebody new to the game could easily skip over thinking about that and just be like, oh, I have a shitty juvenile horse, I'm selling it, right? So it's interesting from your perspective to hear that there's like a very, very in-depth aspect to breeding and racing and timing when a horse will become good.
Absolutely, man. And that's just another element that, that I really appreciate about the game. And it's not just, everybody knows from day one when this horse goes into a maiden is if it's the new, Princess of Power or not, forever. You know what I mean? Because things change and horses change. And so, that's something that I've really appreciated about the game. It makes you think, and it's not just a purely based on just random noise of what happens. So
it goes both ways also. You could just have a horse that's dog water as a 2-year-old or you can have a horse that's great as a 2-year-old and drops off a cliff as a 3-year-old, or drops off the cliff as a 4-year-old. I have 2 examples of those. We don't have to get into them now, but the filly that Zook and I had, Shabuzi, she was an awesome 2-year-old. She won big races. She made money. She competed in big stakes. She beat S pluses. As soon as she turned 3, she didn't want anything to do with racing. Couldn't find the winner's circle. Couldn't find the podium. None of that. And that's an S filly. And I had an A colt who was great as a 2-year-old, great as a 3-year-old. And as soon as he turned 4, I had 5 races in a row, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. And that was it. So like you can't pinpoint when it's going to happen. You just have to make sure you're aware of it and what to look for and what the signs are. Like, yeah, it's another layer of strategy in the game. Understanding fleet figures, understanding aging, understanding breed. It's just so much. And that's my favorite part about it too. It's always a brain tease. It's a never-ending puzzle that we can't complete, which is good.
GVG, for you, for like how in-depth this game is, for like friends that are in your circle, like but not necessarily in crypto, how do you tell them about this? Like what do you like? Do they understand it when you explain this to people and like what you're putting your time into, time and money?
Yes and no. I mean, like it's kind of like knowing your friends, right? Like certain friends I know will get it and appreciate it. Certain friends won't. So like, certain friends I'll keep up to date on what's going on with stuff. Certain friends like want to know and will ask about stuff. And then, I have other friends that I know they just wouldn't vibe with it. You know what I mean? But like for the friends that I know, like, or at least I have a feeling I think they would like it. Oh gosh, I don't know how I actually describe it to them. I mean, I try. It kind of depends on their level of like, comfort with technology and crypto. Most of my friends are, pretty comfortable there, just in the crews that I run with. But most of them for the most time, they really, really dig it. A lot of times, a lot of them, the ones that will not get involved, are typically just in a place in life where they're like, I just don't really have the liquidity to go and do that. I'm trying to save for a house because baby mama's pregnant and I gotta like grow up and, do my thing and whatever the case may be. But, I try, and when I do describe the game and explain the game to people, I basically try and describe it as, you have photo finish live. The team is trying to create as close to the real thing as you can create. It's never going to be, you're never able to get 100% like, replicate real life. But I think they've done a really good job of, of coming as close as you can when you're talking purely digital assets in a virtual kind of a game atmosphere. That the realisticness they've done an incredible job with, from all the way down to breeding. And so I still view this game, particularly like we're in its infancy stages. Like, I don't know, not to go back to talk about the other game again, but like worth mentioning while we're here and while we're on topic. Like, we were all promised in the other game that like it's important that you buy these bloodlines because these are what's going to create the champions of the future. But then we all got into the game and found out that like, actually like 90% of the time, the Genesis, the Z1, Z2 Genesis are going to be the best horses ever. And sure, there's going to be a few rare breeds, diamonds included, crimson chins included, you could name them, that are going to be some of those really rare breeds that can compete with those top original horses. But for the most part, not a whole lot of horses were beating the originals, and the originals are there forever. And, photo finish live, one of the things that kind of was the big light bulb for me of just how different it is the game design, by design, is built to create better horses every time you're breeding. You know what I mean? And so there is no ceiling. There is no, this guy got a lucky pull and locked up this horse, and for the next 2 years, that horse is going to beat me up. Like, even in the event that let's say you're in right dirt, even in the event that you're in right dirt and there is a killer horse at your distance preference, like the longest you're going to see that horse in real life terms is like 3, maybe 4 months. That's the longest. That's if that horse runs as, a 6, 7-year-old, which they're probably not, So whoever the killers are, they're only the killers for 30 to 60 days, and I love that component of it because no one's ever out of it, so to speak. In Zed, if you didn't have a top piece, like you were out. Like they're never going to compete. And you're never going to breed something that can compete unless it's literally that 1 in 100,000 chance, So, the idea that, a year from today, we'll be sitting here talking about, oh shit, who bred an SS, and we're at that level. That's the component that really excites me because there is a natural evolution of the game, and it's constantly moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on? Do you want to? I think what we determined with Lucky Money is probably long distance.
Yeah, I would love to see
integrated stakes yet, buddy.
Yeah, I would love to see her run against her peers grade wise, like
S stakes,
and something 9 to 12.
You have it in the 20K 7 furlong race next, so
let's get it.
You never know until you go.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you never know, except when you know.
Listen, if he's comfortable with knowing that if I lose, then I lose, that's on him. I mean,
that's what we talked about.
That's how I operate as well. Like there's no faster learning curve than to go up against stout competition to really understand what you got. And you have to do it at some point. Some people prefer to do the slow pull with the Band-Aid and enter 12 maidens over and over, for me, if it's a horse that if I feel really good about the breed, I have plenty of horses in my stable. I'd be willing to say probably 10% of the horses in my stable never touch a maiden. They go straight to graded, straight to restricted, straight to some type of higher level race. And then I have the other vast majority is like, I feel good about this horse. I'm not really sure based on the parents what the distance preference is going to be. And so I'll enter those horses in maidens. Typically they'll run about 3, maybe 4 maidens until I get the distance preference dialed in. Once I kind of have a good idea of distance preference, then I'm like, okay, I know we're probably going to be, 9 to 12 furlong. We probably had a decent roll on stamina, probably had a decent roll on finish. Let's go see how we actually stack up against some quality competition. And if we do poorly there, I do not say, oh, this horse just doesn't have it. I'll say, well, either this horse doesn't have it or this horse just needs some time to age. And so sometimes I will sit that horse to the side and say, I'm going to come back and revisit and let her stretch her legs again in an 11 furlong, a week or 2, 3 weeks from now, potentially, and then gauge and see how it performs in that one. But, I am a big believer in you have to run against higher competition to actually know what you got. Because, and let me just say this too, because I think it's probably worth mentioning. The same argument for, tiptoeing a horse into races and running a bunch of maidens and not doing a large expenditure type race and being conservative. The same argument can be made on the opposite side. And I can give examples of horses that I've owned and own where I put them in a maiden. Let's just say I put them in a 6 furlong maiden and they go out and they win the maiden. And so I'm convinced I have a 6 furlong horse now, but in reality, I just had the best horse in the race, even though 6 furlong wasn't even his or her distance preference. They just outperformed the rest of the horses in that race. But then whenever I go to graded races, to horses that actually do have a preference for 6 furlongs, then I don't compete well. And it actually costs me more money because it takes me longer to realize that, like, yes, we have a win at 6 furlongs, but that was against weak competition in a maiden. And that really, truly is not my horse's ideal distance preference. So like winning a race against a weak field at an off distance preference can actually mislead you as a manager into running your horse off distance. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me because we sit up here Monday and Tuesday and we do the handicapping, and that's one thing I look at. I always open the maiden to see, did anyone else win from that race, or did you just beat a bunch of bad horses? There's always information to be found. So it's nice to hear you say that as well.
100%. I mean, I've had horses that go out and win their 4 furlong maiden. I'm convinced I have a killer sprinter, and it literally takes me half the season.
Yeah.
10 races of graded races to realize like, no, you actually have like a 7-8 horse. It just ran a really good race against weaker competition. And so it won at 4 furlongs, but like, you don't have a sprinter, bro. She prefers to run mid,
So
and it actually ends up costing you more.
I don't know how much time we got left, but if you guys want to look at just one of the other ones that that I bought from you.
Yeah, which one you want to do? Let's hop into it.
So
just Meme Juice and Gandalf the Gray, right? Let's
big
do that.
Let's do it. We can do both. I don't how much time y'all got?
I'm good. I'm just letting y'all listen. I'm here.
Yeah.
You ask the questions you want to ask, and as long as you guys can go, we'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm flexible, man. I wanted to make myself present and available for you, Evergreen. So
I appreciate
you let me know, man.
I got time, bro.
Okay, so let's go break this one down. So if you look at the mother here, you look at the mare, Meme Juice.
If I was in the market of buying horses, I probably would have tried to buy this one. I really like this horse, and I'm glad he bought it.
Yes, I think this is probably your best buy of the group. So Meme Juice. So okay, it all goes back to my stud Meme God, who is an S-, one of the only 2 of the top boost S- with non-1-of-1 blood in it. This was one that I purchased from Luis, if you remember Luis Doughboy.
I don't actually.
Yeah, he was the guy that bought a bunch of the tickets early on and then never did anything with them. And we were like a week before going live, and he still hadn't like sold any of his horses. He owned Blue. Remember Blue, the one that Breaking Bad ended up buying? Yeah. Anyways, so this was Meme God and Girl Scout Cookies, which is owned by Hazy Hills, great stable over there. They bred Meme Girl, listed her on the market, and I was like, okay, I'll buy that. So I bought her. She ended up being a really good racer. This is another one of those classic, like I retired her at 3 because I was just eager and ready to breed her and get the bloodline built out. But like she could have had such a larger racing career. She had, her strongest stats, start, speed, and finish, decent on the heart side of things. And then temper is a little bit lower. I'm not a big believer in temper. We can go into that at some point if you guys want to. I will throw this out there, and maybe it's a contrarian thought. I don't know if I've heard anybody else say this, and maybe they have, and I just don't remember that I've heard it from someone else and taken it as my own idea. But I have this suspicion that temper is more important the longer the race runs. And someone can check me on that. I know there's always going to be outliers, first and foremost. There's always going to be those horses that were killers at 10 to 12 furlongs that after reveal had low temper. Like that's always going to happen. I'm talking more on just laws of averages, large data sets. I feel like if you have a weaker temper, it's easier to get away with that in a sprint than it is in a marathon type race. But to get back to the breed here. So Meme Girl, really good sprinter for me. Retired her, took her to Lucy Juice. Lucy Juice, if you're not familiar, Evergreen, one of the best early studs in the game. I mean, still producing champions today. Had a monster role with the start and speed, the 2 single biggest attributes that go into sprint distance races. And created Meme Juice. Meme Juice came out. I didn't run her a ton. Probably could have ran her a whole lot better. This was still kind of quote unquote early. I was still learning how to navigate and be a responsible owner as well, manager of a stable as well. But she had a really nice reveal, man. She rolled up. She says, S plus for starting speed. The heart was one of those things that I, didn't love about the breed. Heart's a big one for me, as I alluded to earlier. And so went and addressed that with this breed. So if you pull up the, here, actually, Doughboy, let me send you this.
I got it pulled up here.
You got you have the comparable or
yeah.
Okay.
The in game.
Perfect. Yeah, it's exactly what I was wanting. So this was one of those. Gandalf the Grey was a phenomenal sprinter, Evergreen. You can see his career earnings there, and that was as an S. So this is like your classic. He was an S, but he went out there and slapped up S pluses all day long. And he had a knack for winning big pots. And a lot of that is attributed to his heart. Super competitive sprinter. So I took this girl to him specifically because they matched the sprinter profile mold perfectly. The only thing she was lacking was heart. He's got big heart. And it was like, let's go. This is like one of those, like, chances to roll a really good horse here are high in my opinion, So if you're, the three biggest stats for me on a sprinter: start, speed, and heart. If I can get those three to roll up at all there, then you're, flirting with SS minus stats, SS stats. You can have a killer regardless of what any of those other stats are. You know what I mean? They're almost not applicable to a sprint race. So so that's why I went with this breed. I think when I was looking at where you have ran this one thus far, I think we haven't ran a sprint yet, had we?
No, I don't think so. And if you look at the it's Big Za,
Big
right?
Za. Yep. Looking at him now, or her
if
now.
you look at like early, on the 12 furlongs, right? So just being early, like first, like
yes.
That'd be a good sign for what you're saying, right? Like it being a sprinter, right?
Yes. I would definitely take this girl and find me a 4, 5, 6 if necessary. If there's nothing, great on the schedule in immediate days that matches, a track condition of, I would be looking for probably 0 to 60%. I think that she will probably run well on a yielding track. Her father, the sire here, Gandalf, was a soft horse. Not sure other people's opinion on this, but when I've crossbred soft parent with a firm parent, I have found that offspring typically will outperform at yielding comparatively to even whatever their preference says. So if their preference comes out, like in this case, a 1-star firm, a lot of times I found that these type of horses from a mixed parent track conditions, that this horse will actually run its best in the middle on like a yielding type of track. But all horses are different. You really can't talk in absolutes. And I try to be careful talking in absolutes. I don't want to mislead anybody any certain way. Every horse is independent. They each have their own idiosyncrasies, their each preferences. But as a general rule of thumb, this type of horse, I'd be looking for like a 0% to 60%. If we were going to get like really picky, I'd be like 20% to 60% and leave out that 0%. I don't know, a fast track may actually hurt her. Not in the sense that she's not going to run well. It's more about she's going to be running against peers that may have 2+ stars in firm, and they're going to get a boost that she doesn't.
Gotcha.
And so it's not really a knock on her. It's more of just they're getting benefited and she's not. So let's stay away from those types of things. But you never know. I've also had 1-star firm horses that crush it on fast and don't do well on good. And so that's why you got to run your horses. You got to run them to learn them. You really do. So I'm excited to see this one run in a sprint. I would probably go. I would go either a graded or a maiden and just find the best race you can that's going to, meet the criteria that we're looking for. if it was me, if I could find an S graded, I would go to that before even a maiden, to be honest with you. But if there's nothing that's, really a good fit in that graded, S graded kind of restricted style race, then I'd go ahead and run a maiden. It's not going to hurt anything to start gathering data.
So I kind of wanted to go back into something you said. So when you said, like, if you don't find the exact race you're looking for, there's still some other options. How often do you race when you don't find that horse's exact race? Because when I was talking to Doughboy, he was telling me, he was like, some people, they get too eager and they just want to race, right? So for you, if you don't find the exact race, but you still find, potentially another one that you have a chance to compete in, but it may not be your strongest suit, how often are you racing that horse in, option B and C instead of only racing option A?
It's a great question. The big caveat to this answer is it depends on like the age of that horse and how much I've ran that horse. A horse like this, a juvenile that's seen the track twice, I'm going to be a lot more liberal and accept a lot more openness in which race I'm selecting versus a horse that I've ran 28 times and I pretty much got it dialed in that, like, hey, if it ain't 4 or 5 furlong and it ain't yielding or good, I'm not entering it. You know what I mean? Just because I know I already have the data, I've sampled enough, I'm confident that, like, this is where this horse performs the best, and anything outside of this, I'm putting myself in a negative EV opportunity. But when they're young like this, you got to just run them. There's no way to learn if your horse runs good or bad on a certain preference or a certain distance without actually letting them run. So early on, I will put firm horses in soft. I will put soft horses in what potentially may go firm in every kind of which way. Not going to do that on a big stakes race, obviously. I'm going to do that more of like when I'm taking shots at maidens and things like that. Like if I have like this kind of horse right here, I'm like, I got to find a sprint for this horse. If I go and look at, grade restricted, and the only available like 4 to 6 furlongs is all like 80% plus rain forecast, then I will not go into that and I'll go over to a maiden because I would rather try and start on preference. The game is trying to tell us something by their preferences. And so I will try and start on preference. In the event that in that same scenario, if I went to the maidens and the only 4 to 6 furlong maiden over the next day or two is, an 80%, I'll go ahead and put her in there just to get the data. You know what I mean? Rather than sit for 2 days. Because if your horse is sitting, you're not learning anything about it. And, you can make an argument that, yes, you're saving money because you're not entering a race that wasn't on preference that you're probably not going to win. But you don't know that either. You know what I mean? You have to take your shots. And so I will always try and match preferences. But in the event that, like, I can't, then and especially if they're young, then I'll just take the next closest thing. Because I have had, it's worth mentioning, I have had plenty of horses like this that are 1-star firm that, in the example I used earlier, they will actually, when you go back and look at the end of their racing career, they actually outperformed on yielding and even outperformed on soft. And that's, a lot of times people will look at that and say, that's so weird. Why does it say 1-star firm if this horse actually ran its best races on soft? And the answer is, this horse actually this horse does not prefer soft. It's simply a byproduct of the peers it was racing against in the fast track conditions outperformed it versus the peers that it ran against in the soft conditions it was better than. And so sometimes it's figuring out who are you going to be racing against. And even though it's an off preference race, quote unquote, I like running against that field of races more than I do against an on preference field because that one's stacked with killers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Cool. So So yeah, just circling back on on that one. I mean, I think we talked that one through pretty good. Full expectations of a sprinter for this one, just so you know. Like my first, if I would have been running this horse from the start, my first probably 2 to 3 races would have been sprint distances, regardless of the outcome of the initial races, knowing that there could be some variance in there, And then let's see,
Quick,
yeah,
nice. Like that's one thing. In Evergreen, that's another layer of like breeding reports like down the line. But like these wicks are kind of nice. So if you wick up on any of these, I guess what we think speed and start and heart, obviously, if heart got drug up. But like even like selling with S stamina, S finish, and potentially S temper, and having S plus start speed, heart, that's pretty dope. Like that's your end goal. That's what you want for a sprinter. Start, speed, heart, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but for me, that's what I want.
I've always believed heart matters always. So that's where I am. It matters a lot to me in IRL. Like that's all you have to gauge off of. If the horse has heart, it's gonna run hard. If it doesn't have heart, it's gonna quit. So more heart is
and I think, and I really think and believe, especially if you're trying to compete at the highest levels, if your goals are to compete and breed bloodlines to run for championships, heart is like has to be there, because you're when you're going to go, if you're a brand new college football team and you decide that I want to play for championships, and you want to go to the I don't want to make anybody upset that's listening, but if you want to go to the SEC, you better have some heart, because I'm guarantee you everybody else in there, whether they have heart or not, they're going to be filled up with all the other stats.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you got the other stats, somebody in there is going to have those stats, but also have heart. And so when you just when you want to go at the high levels, I think heart is a mandatory attribute.
Right. What is your guys' favorite type of horse? A long range, mid, or a sprinter in this game?
Sprint. For me,
and
it's
why?
Sprint. I think it's just speed. Again, you know me, I come from IRL horse racing, and like speed is everything. The fastest horses always win. You can be fast going long, that's fine. I want to be fast going short, and I want to keep it short and sweet. So speed for me and going short is there. But also, I don't like long distance races. That's another reason why I prefer the sprints and speed. I think GVG's barn is full of everything. I don't know if maybe he does have a favorite.
It's a really good question. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I will spill this alpha. And this is, I say alpha. This is an opinion. But I am a believer that if you take 3 horses, okay, and let's just say that their stat profiles are identical. And when I say identical, I mean identical in the sense of they have their highest matching letter grades in the attributes you want to match that distance preference, right? So if you have 3 horses that are equal in their stats across, the different 3 funnels of races, sprint, mid, and long, your sprint and your marathon horses are going to be easier to manage and probably more profitable. Mid distances, and this is my opinion, mid distances, I see the most variance. In other words, the hardest to be dominant. I would say, in my order of things, marathon distance horses is the, I don't want to use the word easiest because it's not easy, but is your highest probability. If you have a killer marathoner, it's hard for other horses to compete with it because they have to have the same type of strength of distance preference and have the same kind of attributes to match you. Sprint is slightly less dominant. We'll still see some dominant horses in the sprint side of things, but not quite as much as the marathon. Again, my personal experience and opinion. And then to round it out, mid, you see the most variance there. You don't. It's pretty rare to see just an absolute dominator at mid. And I think, we could go into the details on it, but I think that is more just simply a byproduct of how many of the underlying attributes are getting fed into the race math to determine the outcome winner. And I think that mid-distance races, as it makes sense, has the most amount of attributes of a horse. Because for a mid, it's like start's important, speed's important, stamina's important, finish is important, heart's important. You know what I mean? So like all these variables are there. The more variables we all know, the more wonky and variable type of outcomes you're going to have. The less variables you have, the more confident you can be in an outcome. You know what I mean? It's like why we structure scientific experiments the way we do and try and only have one variable at a time, control that variable to understand how does that variable affect the outcome. Same kind of process can be applicable here. Whichever race is taking the most things into consideration is the one you're going to have the most noise in. And noise equals variance in outcome. Whereas, in the sprint, in like a marathon, stat statistic, not as important. You know what I mean? And so you can have a great horse overcome a lower stat preference in the start category. Whereas like in the mid, they're all like equally weighted, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, there's just, you have to have more of everything in a mid, which makes it harder to stand out.
Exactly. And more likely to just have randomness be involved, Mm-hmm. And I think we saw the same thing in the other game as well. The most dominant horses were pure sprinters or pure marathoners, and I think it's similar here.
I was just about to say that. I was like, it's the same thing in Z essentially.
Exactly. And to be fair, I think that you see the same thing like in real life horse racing as well. It's I hate to use the word easier, but it's easier to be dominant as a pure sprinter or a pure router, aka marathoner, than it is to be like in that mid distance type of category. It's a great question though.
Yeah. So and then we got Almighty here, which was
Almighty. This is out of the mother here, the mare Fields of Fog. This was another big splash buy that I did early on in the game. I want to say I paid like $800K Derby for her. This was another classic. Raced her to 3 years old and retired her because I was wanted to breed her. Didn't run her great in terms of distance preferences. Never gave her a chance to age. She did just fine. Didn't have like the most amazing reveal. But if you go and like look at her progeny, I mean, she has created some really good sprinters in just the very limited amount. She's only had 3 or 4 runners, or I think 5. Almighty's the 5th runner to hit the track. I mean, if you look at her other horses from a track record standpoint, done pretty darn good. But yeah, this one though, Evergreen, this was like 100% expectations on a sprinter. So, and I want to say when I looked at this one, yeah, we ran a 9 and a 12. So worth looking at. So let me see, Delboy, what do you have on your screen? You got you have the foal that he's running right now?
I do.
Okay, yeah, pull that up and let's look at the we'll go and look at the races thus far. And I think there will be some good talking points for Evergreen and anybody else that's new or anybody else that's like curious about kind of the thought process, the logic and things that the game provides to you that, I view it as like the game's trying to tell you something. You know what I mean?
So this is the first race, 9 furlongs.
Exactly. So, I mean, so one of the first things you notice here right off the bat is like if you look at the fleet figures, at 9 we were 61, then we went to 12 and it went down to 52. So the game's trying to tell us go the other way. I mean, just to give you an idea too, Evergreen, I mean, an S horse that's bred well. So in this case, two S parents, right?
Yes. S and S plus.
No, yeah, an S and an S plus parent. So, bred strong, this horse should never run a 52 on preference. So when you see a 52 at 12, this is like the example I was given earlier of like in Zed, when you see a horse that, beat every other horse by 2 full points in morning line odds, but then went out and finished last.
5 seconds behind the winner, by the way.
Exactly. So I think this is going to be a monster sprinter, to be honest with you.
I like the sounds of that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't lose that badly with the quality of parents. And then if you just look at the mother and then look at of the 4 horses, I think there's only 3 that have actually had like substantial racing amount, but like every one of them is a sprinter. One of them, I think 2 of these have actually like placed in the Left Dirt Sprint Championship. Don't hold me to that, but it gets hard to keep it all together nowadays. But
Bullfrog finished 7th, which is still fine.
Yeah,
7th in the Harbor Classic on turf as well.
Yeah, and
extent there. That's Bullfrog. There is obviously Morning Fog as well.
Oh yeah, Morning Fog had to have won something big. He won a purse of 376,000 Derby. So
damn.
Yeah, he won on left turf as well. So he won the left turf Harbor Classic sprint, and then actually ran like Dookie in the dirt sprint, but it was a sloppy track, so conditions played a factor.
Exactly. So long story short, Evergreen, you have a precedence here in the bloodline of really good sprinters. And then you have a horse that you went out and ran in a marathon and ran like way lower than a horse of that caliber should run fleet figure wise, just even more so telling you this baby needs to go to a sprint.
Okay.
Like honestly, between me and you, like sometimes I will do this. If I have a horse that I bred it to be a sprinter. And then when I go and I look at races to enter, if everything is like, 80 to 100% rain, I can't find a single good sprint, I will go put that horse in a marathon maiden, hoping to see that horse place dead last. Because then I know.
Yeah.
I would rather that than running a 4 furlong sloppy and run 5th and have no real idea if I like sprints or not, because I'm running on sloppy and I'm a firm horse. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, I think it sucks that you got into a couple longer ones, but I think all it has done is further just exemplified that this thing's ready for a sprint.
Yeah, that's perfect. And it's cool because like you can make those mistakes, but then when you have somebody that looks at it the way you do, it's like it's not necessarily a mistake as long as you're looking at it the right way, and you're always trying to draw some information out of like the game's trying to tell you something, like you're saying.
That's exactly right. And like you talk to anybody that deals with data, in their professional career or just as a data nerd, so to speak. The golden rule of data is, the larger the sample size, the more data I have to go from, the more informed decisions and confidence in those decisions I can make. And so, to the people who, say, don't run your horse unless it's perfectly on preference, like, I'm not sure that I always agree with that, because data is data. And anytime you're gathering data, even if it was a bad outcome for you, there's something to take away from that and learn from. And, the people who learn their horses the fastest 100% have a leg up on everybody else. If you're If you have your distance preference pegged in your first 3 races, your entire rest of your career, you are at an advantage over everybody else, especially for those, races 4 through 10. Because there's a whole bunch of people who are still trying to figure their horse out after 15 races. And those are the people you're eating off of, because you already know you're in your jam. This is where she likes to be, or he likes to be, So yeah, you got to run them, man. You got to run them. You got to get the data to make informed decisions.
There's always lessons to be learned in failure.
100%, man. And like in the case like this, a 52 furlong fleet, or excuse me, a 52 fleet figure at 12 almost tells me more than if you would have put this horse in a 4 furlong maiden and won the maiden, because we don't know who you really raced against.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we already kind of had a good idea that this thing's going to be a sprinter. If you go out and you win a weak field maiden, you kind of like, got a better idea that it's a sprinter, but you also don't have any idea of its potential, how strong it is of a sprinter.
Right.
So if you can't get that, then this is the next best thing. Put it off preference distance wise, and we're hoping for a bad outcome to just further, strengthen the opinion that it's going to be a sprinter. But like, if this thing would have been a mid horse, that fleet figure at 12 would have been in the 60s, something similar to what it was at 9. You know what I mean? The fact that it went down a full 9 fleet figure points tells you something. It definitely tells you something.
Right. Yeah. You could either confirm your bias by racing against soft competition, or you could, cast all negative doubt at it by doing the fucking marathons and shit to really see, and then kind of figure out from there, going back into, just finding out early, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So for you,
I can't
being
wait
in
to see
the
this
game,
one sprint.
I'll put in it. You're good. For me, I'm just like that's the one. Like, when you got into the game, was it for me? Like, I always want to scratch that itch of racing, and Zed gave you that. So it's a little bit hard to slow down in this game for me, to be honest with you.
You know what? It was a big adjustment at first, and then you, as like everybody else, if you ask anybody else that's been here for longer than 6 months, they all will tell you, like, bro, that is a very short-term problem that you're going to have, because once you start breeding and your stable starts growing, it doesn't matter that a horse is only running every 24 hours or 36 hours, because you have enough horses. Like, there's constantly something to look at, something to enter, something to watch. You know what I mean? So it only feels that way when your population of your stable is low.
Mm-hmm.
As your stable grows, it'll be an afterthought. Like, I enter horses now for races 3 days from now, because I have so many horses, and I'm just like, there's no rush to get this thing in a race right now. I'd rather just get it in something that I feel comfortable with for what I know of that horse at this time, a race that I feel good with, preferences, distance preferences, surface wise. I'd rather wait a couple of days to let it go than hurry up and get it into one. Now, if you go look at my stable, season 1, and you look at how I ran my first horses, I was running 2-star firm horses and sloppy grade 1s. I mean, I was just like, when's the next race? Like, that's the race I'm going in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then as my stable has grown, it is putting me in a position where I can be more picky, because I always have 30 more horses to find a race for. You know what I mean? And 30 races to go and check results on. So it's a very short-term problem, but yes, it is. And then I also will say, like, as the deeper I've gotten into it, the more I actually appreciate that aspect of the game, because it makes the races mean more.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of equate it to like Major League Baseball. And sorry if there's any baseball fans on stream, but bro, when you play 160 games or however much they play, like, how are you going to tell me that, like, game 61 matters? Why should I watch game 61 of 160 games? Like, it's not going to make or break the season. It's not a huge deal. You know what I mean? Versus like NFL, you only got, what are they, 17 seasons now, or 17 games per season, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like each game, like, has a significant impact on the total standings and what that team is going to do long-term position-wise that season. So lesser sometimes is good because it makes things actually mean something. You know what I mean? Versus Zed was just like, I had my diamonds, similar diamonds type horses as well. And it's like, okay, well, I know like 2 out of every, 4 or 5 are going to be terrible. So I just got to like, just keep entering, waiting for the big pot to hit. You know what I mean? Versus, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, I prefer, now having experienced it, a little more strategic approach where you don't just get fire off knowing that like eventually, they're going to hit. You got to actually kind of be a little more selective, and a little bit more attentive in your choices.
Okay. I got 2 more questions for you, and they're separate questions. I don't know if it's on your current stable wallet. But do you value like track ownership in this game? Like how do you view the other aspects beyond just, racing and breeding? Is owning tracks or like doing all that stuff worthwhile in your opinion?
I think it all depends on what your goal is. So I made a decision really early on in the game that my goal for the game specifically was to acquire the best horses and bloodlines that I can, breed those horses to the best horses and bloodline that I can, and compete for championships. My goal was never to accumulate crown and stake crown and have a passive investment return. Some people do, and I'm grateful for those people. Like we need the people that stake. We need the people that are, in it for crown purposes, majority wise. And that's one of the things, like there's important elements of the flywheel and of the ecosystem all over. I'm not trying to be all of those. I'm trying to be what I want to be. And so, full disclosure, pretty much since day one, I have sold my crown along the way. So I've sold crown at 3 cents. I've sold crown at $2 and everything else in between. And I have then taken those funds and plowed the selling of the crown and plunged those profits right back into breeding expenses. So like Evergreen, I don't know if you're aware, but no one in the game is, at least maybe I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, no one in the game has paid more for breeding expenses than I have.
Damn.
And so, the way I look at it is I'm not quote unquote participating in the crown staking side of things. I'm selling that crown. However, I'm reinvesting those dollars in the ecosystem right back in breeding. You know what I mean? And so the owners of those studs, they're getting that money that I'm putting back into the game. It all trickles back in. You know what I mean? So that's just for me personally. Now, I will say, I know people who have crushed it by racing and kind of picking their spots to race and making their breeding decisions based on trying to kind of create competitive horses, but not necessarily willing to spend to go to the top horses, because their goal is never to win championships. Their goal from day one was to have competitive horses that break me even or maybe make me a little bit of money, but my real goal is to just stack crown and then stake that crown and then get the yield, which, the USDC yield from crown is really nice. Most places when you start to stake stuff, you just get back what you're staking. And so it's kind of all just dependent on the price of the asset that you're staking. If it goes to zero, it's like, great, you got more of that asset that is now worth zero. You know what I mean? Whereas the crown staking, I think has a really nice wrinkle where you're staking crown, but you're getting back USDC. You know what I mean? And so that's a cool element of it. I just never went that route because to me it was just like I want to have as much liquidity that profits that come from the game. I want to reinvest right back into the game through paying for either acquiring horses, which I've acquired 2 horses in the last 2 days. So, I have 400 horses in my stable, so I bought one 2 days ago for 200 and something thousand Derby and one yesterday for last night for 330,000 Derby. So still buying horses, still, think I spent $25,000 or $28,000 in breeding fees last month. I don't think I've ever spent less than $25,000 in any given month on breeding fees. So, I put my money where my mouth is in my conviction in the game through reinvesting my crown profits rather than staking my crown. I guess is the shortest way to put that.
Yeah. So by doing that, what is the best horse you've bred?
The best horse I have bred. Probably Bespoke Ovation, if you want to pull that one up, D-Boy.
Yeah.
Why you make that face, D-Boy?
Fucking horse is a killer. The horse has made me a lot of money via wagering, so I shouldn't be upset at all. But it's a very good horse. Sire, I'm not so sold on yet, but I'm 34 for 40 on the podium.
20%, 50% win rate. Nothing but graded stakes for this horse, pretty much since day one. I think this is one of those that it never entered a maiden, I believe.
It was 10K profit, right? 800K.
Yeah, and that's not even counting crown. So,
damn.
I'm sure this horse has probably earned. I don't know.
Crush is in the high. Yeah, this horse.
Crown yield.
This horse is very good. Has a second.
So that's probably the best horse I've bred in the game, and it's always tough to say the best, but. Realistically, that's probably the best horse I've bred in the game thus far.
What was your thought process? Did you just go to like the best stud at the time, or like what was your thought process on breeding that horse?
Yeah, so Ovation was a really kind of rare horse that was bred by RVA, big time long-term stable in the game. Then they sold that to Solonot for, was this the $50,000 horse?
This is
the first $50,000 horse. I know we just had one recently a couple days ago, but yeah.
This is the one I think we talked about last week, Jarek, where he made $250K with breeding so far.
Damn.
This is the one that he bought for $50K and sold sold stud covers and has netted over $250K USD.
It's a good investment.
Yeah, he's done well with it. Done well with it. But yeah, I mean, so me specifically with this horse was the breeding reports is really what pushed me over the edge to make this decision. So I knew that I wanted to, with the mare specifically, I knew that I wanted to create a distance horse. She's one of those unique horses. I think she's still Bespoke. I think she's still the only 9-star S+ filly in the game, isn't she? Are there any other full 9-star S+ fillies?
In RDF, I don't think there is. I think she is. There's some that are getting close, but I don't think there are any 9 stars.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Someone in chat can probably find out.
Yeah, someone let us know. I think she is. I don't check it or anything, but I haven't seen any. Just full 9 stars is just rare in itself. Everybody has a half-star somewhere. But she's one of those rare horses that she seems to, and Evergreen, if you're familiar with in real life horse racing, there's a term called broodmares. And, a broodmare in real life is defined by a female horse that displays the ability to pass on whatever stud she breeds with. So if she breeds with an elite sprinter, she's going to put out an elite sprinter. If she breeds with an elite marathoner, she's going to put out a marathoner. And where it's almost like broodmares are really attractive in real life racing because it's all about who you pair with.
Right.
And the sire is the dictator of what you're going to get. Versus some females, they're a sprinter, and like it doesn't matter who you pair them with. If you pair her with a marathoner, you're going to end up with a mutt, with something that can't do anything. Versus broodmares are like, they're really flexible, and whoever you pair them with, they're going to pass on the sire's traits, distance preference wise specifically. So, you know, there's a few different words. So like go to like Silent Beauty there, Doughboy, a few down. So this one caught my eye. I think this is the one. Go to like the charts. I think this is the one where she was a killer. Yeah. So I saw her breed with a marathoner and create this horse, Silent Beauty, which was an absolute killer. Like this is another classic example. Like he retired this horse at 3. Like if this horse runs, you know, 4 or 5, like it's gonna make bank. It was just getting into its prime. But I saw that and was like, I haven't really bred her to like an elite marathoner yet. Ovation had just came into the market. Not many people were breeding with Ovation because he was asking like, you know, what was it, $2,000 at the time or whatever it was for a cover fee.
Yep.
And a lot of people get scared away by that. Me, I look at that and I'm like, cool, that means that I'm going to be like one of the only people with this blood running around. So have fun saving your money, but you got to still face me on the track. So I don't know if you're saving it or if you're actually losing it, but whatever. So anyways, I ran breeding reports on her with Ovation and then compared that to every other marathoner that was even an option. And it was like not even close. The thing that made me hold back a little bit on it is, you know, Ovation was a right turf horse, if you see that. And she's a dirt. And we've seen mixed kind of, you know, mixed results on crossing archetypes in the immediate first foal, typically not being a killer, right? And then the other big thing that had me hung up a little bit was, like we said, she's the only 9-star S+ filly in the game. You know, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that when I did this breed were like, oh my God, why would you throw all those prefs away? Like you have the golden grail of all perfect prefs and you breed it with a horse that you're going to end up with low prefs, right? And so it was a kind of a contrarian breed a little bit in that regard. But the breeding report is what I was just like, I just have to see this, man. Because the stamina, the finish, and the heart was just too good to pass up for me. And so I said, yeah, well, let's roll the dice on it. It's like, you know, this is one that like I'm sure, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm sure like 99% of people would not have done this because it's high risk and you're paying a bunch for it. It's not like it's high risk, but it's cheap and it's a big chance for a win. It's like, no, like, you know, statistically, when you cross archetypes, it doesn't typically end great with the first foal. Now that foal could go on and be a great breeder and you can have killers, but you know, typically when you cross archetypes, the first foal is not great and you're losing all these preferences and you're paying a ton for it. So 99% of people probably would not have done this, but it just goes to show you, sometimes by doing the contrarian thing, you put yourself at an advantage over your peers. It kind of goes back to some of those points I was making earlier, where how can a firm horse have its best results on a soft track? And it's like, it's less about that horse actually performing better on soft and more about the horses that it runs against when it's on soft are weaker competition than the horses it runs against when it's on firm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so like with this breed, for instance, if you have everybody and their mother breeding to, you know, similar mares breeding to the same studs, you're going to have a whole lot of kids that are similar. And what that's going to equate to is they're all trading wins on the track because they're all kind of similar. Whereas if you can go and actually create something that's going to be a different kind of a mold than everybody else, sure, there is a chance that you're going to create the worst horse in the game, or there's a chance that you got something that there's just not even another mold of.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you broke the mold.
You're breaking the mold, so to speak. You know, and like to give a Zed analogy for you. So, were you aware, or do you remember? Were you familiar with like this happened primarily with marathon horses in Zed, where like you have a horse and you put it in, you know, a big pot grade 1 race, and it's 3.5 odds. The next horse in there is 5.5 odds, and you go out and you win the race, and then you go back to the very next kind of grade 1 race, and you your horse pulls 14 odds. Do you remember this? The spike, they called it the spook factor. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, when another good horse would be in there, it would spook the other one.
Yes, but most importantly, not just another good horse. It was another horse that had the exact same mold as you, but was slightly better than yours. And so from a race math perspective, the game is saying, well, even if the lesser horse gets a great roll, like this other horse has like better stats on all of its stuff, so it's going to get a better roll. Like, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like your ceiling would never beat the other horse because it was slightly better at everything you were, and you were the exact same mold. You had nothing different that could hit for you to make you win.
Mm-hmm.
No matter which way the race math went, the other horse is going to benefit from it more than you are. So same kind of like contrarian view went into like a breed like this, which is like, instead of just, creating a very similar horse to everybody else, let's create something totally different. And hopefully we get where the mold we create is something that they don't have anything similar to that mold. And so when we hit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and those are the most fun ones because you're being a contrarian and it works out, right? So you kind of feel like a genius when you're right.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I can remember when I did the breed, I can remember seeing comments of like, why would you throw away those prefs, bro? Why would you do that? Like, people legitimately pissed off at me about it,
You can't go to 10 prefs, so you got 9 to give. You can sacrifice some. It's the same to me. It's the same thing as like when you said about breeding with high heart. Like if your mare has SS minus heart or another SS minus stat, but the other stats are better, you can sacrifice one of those to better the others. Like,
yeah,
you have a lot to give essentially with 9 stars.
Yeah, and
but
one
also
more.
what?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Since there are no other 9 stars, like no matter what you breed with in right third after that, you're going to lose stars on the full no matter what.
Yes,
like, you're not going to carry the 9 over unless you get like the God roll or you went through a 7.5 star stud and you just rolled up because Bespoke Ovation just helps that much better. But I feel like you didn't really sacrifice that much. You lost a star on right, you lost a star on firm. That's fine.
Right.
You're still dirt.
Right.
I mean, I think the ability to run on turf as well now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the person that was making the argument against it would say, you went from 9 stars to 5 stars. Don't tell me that doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
They don't know what's under the hood. That's that thinking. That's one way of thinking.
Absolutely, and then I will throw this in there because I think this is something that does not get talked about enough or even talked at all about. Another one of those things that kind of put me across the edge to say, you know what, let's actually just go ahead and do this breed. So I knew that I was going to have low preference horse with this Bespoke Ovation. There's no way you're going to roll good preferences when you go across archetypes like that. However, when I go to breed this horse, Bespoke Ovation, if I go and breed her with a right dirt firm horse that has strong preferences, she is going to be pulling preferences from the sire that I pair her with, as well as her parents and herself. So both of her parents are 9 stars there. Those pull through when I breed her. So my point that I'm making is this 2-1-2 star horse, Bespoke Ovation, she could literally go out and roll a 9-star preference horse because her parents and her were all 9 stars. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing it back into the picture.
Exactly. So when you have strong preferences and then you make a choice to breed away from those preferences and you lose them, it's easier to get them back if you had them versus if you never had preferences and you're trying to breed to get to preferences. That's a long, slow grind. But if you've already had them, then it's way easier for them to come back. And so that's another reason I was kind of more comfortable losing my preferences, knowing that I'm going to get the grandparents pass through when she breeds and have a higher chance of getting strong preferences again.
Going back into the brood mares, can you essentially hit that on any horse, or are you researching to like really find like these specific brood mares to where like, okay, if I go and pair this with a good sprinter, I'm going to get a good sprinter? Like, how do you find these, and can any horse you breed essentially be one of those?
I don't think any horse can be one of those. I have fillies that I have attempted to breed on preference as well as off preference. And anytime I try and like flip them to a different distance preference, it turns into like a foal that has no distance preference that just is not good. You know what I mean? So I think it's really going to be about looking at the progeny of a mare. If you find a mare that has created a really good sprinter as well as a really good marathoner, then I would have pretty much immediately lump her into the bucket of a brood mare, meaning the sire that you pair her with is going to be the predominant factor in the outcome you get in the foal's distance preference. There's always going to be outliers. Okay. So you can't, if a mare has one sprinter and one marathoner that were both good, you can't automatically 100% say she's a brood mare, true and true. Whoever I pair her with, that's what she's going to pass on. There could be that weird outlier role. But for the most part, if you got a filly or a mare, that can create short or long, and she's proven that through the progeny, then she's probably going to continue to show that broodmare ability throughout her career. And to some people, that's really valuable. To some people, they don't want that at all. Some people only want a true and true, whatever their distance preference specialty is. Once again, there's no right or wrong way. I, however, think that, and I own both, obviously, right? I'm not like a maxi on either one. But I will say, there's something nice about having a mare that you're not pigeonholed. Because once again, if I have a mare that only creates sprinters, I'm forced to go now and only look at the sprinter studs. And just like we talked about before, I'm going to come out with a very similar horse of everybody else mold-wise because I'm breeding with the same studs that they are. Whenever you can get a mare that has true flexibility that can go anywhere, that's when your options open up a lot.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I love that. And it's some me getting into the game I never think of. But for me, man, this was great. This was fucking great coverage of the game, everything. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm so happy we could do it. And hey, by the way, any of the fillies you purchased, whenever you retire them and do their first breeds, any stud in my barn for free, bro. Okay? You can breed them to any studs in my barn for free. Let me know which one you do. You do your breeds. I send you back to USDC. You don't pay a dime for it, okay?
All right, Doughboy. We might have to do a stream going and finding one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And don't feel obligated.
Like bankroll away, you know?
I was going to say, don't feel obligated that you have to use any of mine either.
There's some good ones in there, all right? I was going to say, you're very, very humbling because I was going to say, do you understand how many broodmares you have? You're in the top 3 stables, GVG. And this can be an ego stroke, whatever. You're fucking very good at this game. But do you understand that you are third in this game in stables?
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 stables in front of you, the amount of broodmare or the amount of mares they have that are able to breed compared to yours is disgusting. Number 1 has 600 plus. Number 2 has 300 plus. You have
I think I'm like 80 mares. Yeah, like 80 something. Yeah.
Damn.
Like, it's gross. I mean, it's not gross. It's awesome because it's also stable management, but also controlling your population as well. But
and to be fair too, I mean, I I did start off with higher quality pieces that I paid a lot for. Okay, so like but that's a byproduct of that. Having really high quality, a smaller amount but really high quality pieces.
Quality over quantity.
Always.
Yeah, love it.
But you gotta have quantity too. You gotta take your shots, man. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I did not see myself winning a right dirt major. I will tell you that right now. And if you go back to every single stream I've ever done, I can't stand right dirt. It is literally major league. Like if you go into right dirt, you have two options. You either buy into the top to be hyper competitive. Sorry, you have three options. Buy into the top, be hyper competitive, or you start at the bottom and work your way up with your own bloodlines. The other option is you just buy S minuses and S's thinking you're going to compete. And unfortunately, for those of you that don't know right dirt, that's not how it works. It's just a different league of its own in right dirt. But
I don't even know if you're qualified to go to say that, bro. You just won a major. I mean, like, what are we talking about?
I love winning, but I hate right dirt. All right. I can't, dude. It's too hyper competitive. And like when you want to breed in right dirt, depending where you started, because Astro and Ziggy, and these are the one-on-ones I was talking about last week, they're so prevalent. But there's also non-profile picture, like non-standout one-of-one profile pictures, like prime time. Like there's other not one-of-ones that are still considered one-of-ones. So navigating right dirt is like expert level on trying to get through a labyrinth, in my opinion. You start other archetypes. It's a little bit you can get your way to the top a little bit easier for the most part.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I think that's factually correct. I will say, like, just my personality type, who I am as a person. I've always been like, I don't want to be in the B stuff. Put me at the top. I want to compete at the top. Obviously, if I'm not doing that, then what am I even doing here? You know what I mean?
Preach.
And so everybody told me from day one, like, right dirt, man, largest population, it's going to be the most competitive. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. I want to go in the SEC. Like, that's what I want. I know I'm going to take some lumps, but like when you actually do win, it means something. It doesn't mean that I won in the archetype that's the weakest.
Yeah. I'm very proud of the major. I truly am.
You should be, man. That's a big accomplishment.
But it doesn't make me like the archetype anymore. It's going to be a love-hate. I love to win, and unfortunately we have 12 right dirt mares to breed every month, so I'm not getting myself out of right dirt anytime soon. But with that right dirt money, I got a right turf filly and I got a left dirt filly, so I was able to make moves and branch out. But it's just a whole nother monster, man. It really is, and it's tough. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want Evergreen. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. You can go out and buy a right dirt horse now if you want to. I don't recommend it. But I wanted you, because you want to come in and compete. It is very hard to compete in right dirt right off the bat. Like what you dropped, you might have had to drop like that amount on those three horses to try and get yourself a hyper competitive racer for right dirt if you wanted to be serious.
And I'm ready to do that and double back and buy something from GVG whenever he breeds it. So
don't let him do that. Don't do that.
I got you, bro. I'll get you a good deal, especially because you didn't even reach out to try and get anything cheaper on these. So
I tried too. I
know. I heard.
GVG and C. I'm sure maybe he'll work with you. But
I heard him.
Was over there. He couldn't. He had his finger on the trigger. He couldn't wait to pull it.
When I'm ready to do something, I'll just do it, man. And like last time, it was spur of the moment when I saw Diamonds, dude. It was just a fucking UU horse, 1.1. I did minimal research on the game to where I understood I wanted to buy a Z2 legendary knock, and I was like, all right, here we go.
It's funny. You got your start from GVG by buying an unraced horse from him, and I got my start because GVG bought a horse off me for 1 ETH.
Okay.
We got our starts different ways.
Yeah, reverse.
It's crazy where it always circles back to the GOAT. Always.
I mean, it always comes full circle. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
But dude, it's crazy because like for real, like the crypto space and all that stuff. I'm like for you, it's just like a digital horse. For me, like that is a significant part of my life. To like,
right? No, it was an amazing story, bro. It was incredible.
It's nuts, dude.
Bro, nothing made me honestly, nothing made me happier to see it. You know what I'm saying? Because mean, people know me, like, I'm very blessed. I've done well in my professional life, financially and stuff. So like to see somebody young and hungry and up and coming get that horse and make money from that horse and do the things you were able to do with the money that you made from that horse, such a bigger impact than if I would have owned that horse and made more money on that horse. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's literally rewarding. I know it's like little cheese ball to say, but it really is the truth, man. Like, because what did you end up? What did Diamonds ended up like 10 ETH profit plus by the time you sold them?
10. So
12 ETH,
yeah,
something like that.
bottom for 1.1 the next week. I'd got 30 offers. Highest was like 10 ETH by arbitrage. ETH was like 4,000. I ended up keeping him, racing him, made like 10 ETH racing him. And then I folded at the end when I felt like they nerfed him. And I just sold him to arbitrage for 10 ETH. But from there, dude, that like kickstarted. Like I used to live in an apartments, kind of in the ghetto. We rent a house now. Like I bought my mom a car with like her dream car a couple weeks ago off of just like crypto projects and stuff, but it all started from Diamonds, dude. It's
incredible,
nuts,
man. It's incredible. And you also made money breeding them too, so great horse for you, dude. I'm so happy that he went to you and that you got to have that experience.
Yeah, man. So we'll run it back again and we'll make some fun memories and
keep me posted. Keep me posted on these three as you continue to run them, and feel free to hit me up, dude. I'm always happy to hop on a call or whatever and wrap through anything you have questions on or anything at all.
For sure, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Doughboy, thanks for putting it together, man. Yep. I'm glad we got to do it. Hopefully it was good for everybody that got to listen.
We had a pretty decent crowd so for the 2 hours that we were on, and there were chat questions, but unfortunately for this one, Evergreen was asking the questions on this one. If I can get GVG's time another night in the future, then come equipped with the questions, obviously. But this one I wanted the new player perspective, and
yes,
I'm pretty sure we got a pretty solid 2 hours of that. So
good.
This to me is like I said, the knowledge is more important than anything, and this was a very good knowledgeable stream.
Beautiful. Hey, gentlemen, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, man.
We appreciate you.
If you're still here, if you want to stick around, I'm gonna do 2 quick giveaways at the end. I'm just gonna copy chat and do a couple duck races. But if you want to stick around for that,
oh yeah, let me find some. I'll give something away. Let me find something to give away.
And GVG is gonna bless the chat too.
You say you're gonna do duck races?
Yeah, dog. You do duck race. You never did duck race. You know the marbles, the marble races.
Oh yeah.
It's just like a randomizer.
Yeah, instead of spinning the wheel,
for who wins.
Camera. God damn it! What'd I do?
Why are you breaking stuff?
Set up. There we go.
Yeah, I got cleared. Yeah, if you have something to give, then we can do that as well. GVG. I have horses transferred.
I'm going to find something that's like 2 years old but hasn't even raced or been named yet. So someone can literally win a horse, name it, and put it in a race right now.
Good guy GVG. Goat status always.
Let me find something.
All right, let me do this real quick. All right, edit the list. Yeah, Evergreen. Obviously, I mean, I hope that you. I mean, obviously, you're a busy adult now, but you know how to work a stream. You know how to do pre-recorded stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do some story mode. Do some story mode with these horses.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. I didn't have to do anything today. I just sat back and let you do your work. That was great.
Yeah. It's just passion, bro. Whenever I'm passionate about something, it's easy to do it. I don't like when it feels like a job. That's the one reason why I quit with Zed. I was like, it feels like a job after a while.
I sit here for 4 hours on Monday and Tuesday nights, and it's just great. Like the game to me, like again, obviously, like my horse racing background comes in. Like I was a shoo-in for this game no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy it. I enjoy every single aspect. Even when it's not breeding season and you're 2.5 weeks out, you're always looking for the next prospect, whether it's on the track and you're hoping they maybe retire it, or if it's something that went unused in the stud barn, and you're trying to figure out why. Why did it go unused? What can I get out of it?
I'll tell you why I didn't touch the game for so long is I thought it was just like strictly Solana based. And for me, like I don't know what it is. I just have never been a big Solana fan. Now I've kind of opened that door as of recently. It's just I don't know. Me personally, I've never been big on Solana. So when I figured out like, oh, you can just load money in with, Coinbase wallet, USDC, buy Derby.
Yeah, credit card, all that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's valid too. I mean, that's what keeps most people out of crypto games is crypto itself. But yeah, like I would say it was very easy to understand how to navigate it after using Dogwater MetaMask for 2 years. And not having to pay fees is like the greatest thing.
So while we're waiting, is everybody running it back on ZX 2.0?
I know I have a Z2 Genesis that I never even raced that I needed like actually running a maiden before this thing closes down or whatever, right?
Yeah, I did mine 2 weeks ago when they did the maiden. I had a Z8 UUU, super, super rare color. I thought it was going to be great. But I reached out to Arbitrage and I was like, no point in keeping this UU, right? He's like, nope, just run it. So I ran it in the maiden. Obviously didn't do anything because it was a Z8 Buterin. So I didn't get the variance factor. I didn't get a distance preference. I got Dogwater. But yeah, probably run it back, take some more of their dollary dues and bring that over here, if you will. But yeah, I think I'm watching it. I'm watching it. I'm trying to see what it's gonna be, and I might give it. I'll probably give it a try. 80%. I'm gonna give it a try. Like I can sit up here and talk shit all I want, but I'm probably gonna try it out. I don't think it's gonna scratch the itch that I have here. Like I said, this is what I want in a horse racing video game, or horse racing game, if you will. This is everything I want.
All right, Double, I just sent you the horse. You're going to give away a 2-year-old unnamed, unraced SLDS.
Full of ivory clips. Oh, there's Eclipse in that bloodline.
Yep. There's really good blood in this bloodline.
I know that one. Give me 1 second. I'll put the horse up. Oh, it's a filly too. God, the generous.
Yeah, S filly, man. S filly. Oh yeah, we got to show love.
Oh my God. All right, let me I'm gonna post it in chat, also in Twitch chat, so y'all can look at it. And I'm gonna put it on screen and I'm gonna finalize the duck race.
Yeah, give it a minute. I'm gonna post in the general and just say, hey, you hop over here and get in this thing.
That's called viewer farming. That's what we like on this stream.
Is that what that's called? I don't know. I'm pretty. I don't do much streaming.
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter. You could just put a period in general Discord and people would respond to you. Like the masses would come because they think you have something to say, and that's all that matters. But when you say something, people listen. That's just factual. So yeah, all right. I like this. I like this one also because then you have the option to go firm or keep it soft. All right, that's in chat right here. If you want to take a look on your own screen, I'm going to. Well, I guess I'll wait until GVG does his post.
And it's got that Lucy juice you were talking about, right? Like that. Really
oh yeah, if you look at the sire there, that's one that I crossed archetypes, Juicy G. And he had a pretty, I think that's what it was, right? Yeah, Juicy G. He had a pretty nice little roll with SS minus start, S plus speed, SS minus stamina. So lots of ability there. Ivory Eclipse had strong heart, S plus for her overall grade of an S minus. So she carries that forward, takes in some of Juicy G's first 3 attribute stats, and this could be a really good racer. And a lot of options in the stud barn.
Okay, let me see if anything happened. Yeah, my bad. My bad. I will. I don't have it pulled up, but I'll post it over there. Give me a sec. I don't have YouTube up because I don't usually get viewers. You're the only viewer over there, and I appreciate that. GVG comes in on YouTube sometimes. That is also factual.
I always feel like YouTube's easier. It's just where everybody's at.
Everything gets recorded on and stays on YouTube, but stream through. Whatever. I stream through both, I guess. I don't chat through YouTube for the most part.
I've always noticed people pull more viewers on Twitch, though. As far as live stream.
Yeah, I mean, there was some viewers over there today. There was 6 at one point, but I usually never get that many, which is again fine. Damn. All right, let me see if there's an easier way. It's almost like Discord doesn't ping and Twitter's not real, Blue Elder. How do you miss that? Yeah, Lacey got it. Lame. All right. Couple more. You just have to be here, Joey D. I'm just gonna copy the chat.
Yeah, let's give everybody like a little bit of time. I just tweeted it as well. Yep.
We can give it. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, like I said, Evergreen, if you have to jump off, if you got stuff to do.
I'm chilling. GVG, have you ever been into real life horse racing?
Yes, I own some horses.
Okay. Is if you had to compare the two, like which obviously it's more hands-on with the real life horses, but what is more fulfilling, seeing the digital horse race or the like a real one of your real horses win a race?
Well, I mean, it's the first biggest difference is in real life, the stakes are much higher, costs are much higher. And in real life, most people don't even realize, but I mean, no matter what, level of horse you purchase in real life, it could literally be from 2 black type, that's like a graded stakes race, 2 black type winner parents, all the way down to 2 horses, 2 parents that never even stepped on the track. Both of those foals, both offspring, have about a 25 to 30% chance of never even racing one race in their life. Real life horse racing is a lot of things can go wrong in real life, with horses in real life. And the sad truth is, 1 out of 4 will never make it to the track. Like, at least in Photo Finish Live, you're guaranteed to at least be able to run it and find out it's not good. Right. Versus in real life, you buy a horse, even if you're getting a great deal on a horse, you're probably paying a few $1,000s. That'd be like the bottom of the barrel kind of a thing. And then you're going to be paying, $2 to $4 to or more $1,000 per month in the training fees. And just the fees to keep your horse wherever it's being stabled at, and so you have all these costs incurring, and you're not even guaranteed that horse is ever going to run a race. So I don't know, it's tough to compare the two. I've had a blast in both, had really fulfilling things in both. My in real life horse racing side is still relatively new, I would say, on the newer side of things, just with, last few years being involved in that. So I haven't hit anything big on the in real life side. So I don't even know if I'm qualified to say which is more fulfilling, because I haven't. Right. I've had some good horses, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I've had some profitable horses, but nothing that's you're super proud of, that you want to tell everybody that you know what I mean?
Is it the same game plan for this though? Do you want to play at the stakes of real life Kentucky, potentially owning a Kentucky Derby horse?
Yes.
That's fucking tight. That's dope.
Yeah. In real life horses is, I'm typically not buying anything in less than $50,000.
That's where you come to your man's Doughboy, who goes in and drops a claim slip for $5,000, because for me that's manageable. But I was doing all the work. So that's one thing. When you do all the work yourself in IRL, this is what we talked about in your old stream, your cost goes to the floor because you're doing everything yourself. If you're on the outside, you're getting bills, vet bill, feed bill, training bill. like maintenance bill. You're getting bills, but when you're doing everything yourself, you're alleviating the necessity for the bills. But you're doing it yourself. You're still paying bills, but you're not paying giant bills because you as an owner, you can't see what a horse potentially needs. But if you are an owner and do all the work yourself, you're in the stall with the athlete every day. You see the athlete work out every day. You know what tips and tricks you need to keep a horse from going lame.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes ice themselves every day. A horse that goes to a trainer that has 30 plus horses, they don't have time to pay attention to one individual horse. So like there's a lot of different factors that go in, but that was my favorite thing was winning a race IRL is the biggest juice of adrenaline, even at a 5K claimer level, is the biggest adrenaline juice you could ask for. But when Zook and I won the first major and we were actually live and on stream for it, that was the exact same feeling.
Yes.
That's what I love about it. Like that is what gets me in because again, I have the horse racing background. I was a shoe-in to play no matter what. But when you can give me the same emotions from the game that you give me from IRL, you got me. I'm here. It's beautiful. I love it.
That's dope. That's cool.
All right, I'm gonna copy the chat now. And we're gonna get the giveaway going. I might have to make some edits, so give me a few minutes in between. We'll do the first one. We'll do the GVG horse right off the bat because that's what everyone's here for. And then we'll do my little my crown giveaways, some crownsy woundsies. All right, I'm gonna have to edit the list a little bit, I think. Evergreen, you have anything else you want to get out there question wise? Also, whoever's on YouTube, let me know. I know, Juliano, I got you. Any YouTube listeners, let me know.
Trying to think. Oh, horse has to be 3 years old to race in like major qualifiers.
Correct. That's when they become of age to participate in majors.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you big stables can't win. I'll get out of here. No, I'm just
kidding. No big
unless
stables.
you do what SoCal's doing. SoCal, if you're a big stable, you can afford to do this. It's basically a blood swap, but like SoCal said, if he wins, he'll give away a horse out of his stable, I believe. You can confirm that, SoCal, if you like.
He'll double it up.
Well, it's swapping. He's going to take the new blood, and then he's going to give something of his away as well.
He should just toss his in, and then
I giveaway is not going to do a single thing.
Come on,
because
SoCal.
I don't know if you know me, but we don't do that around here. I copy paste everything, but when I get up with Taco, then we'll start doing exclamation giveaway. All right, I have the names loaded up. There are 42. 42. Let me make sure that's correct.
It's going to be a full field.
That is definitely a full field.
Evergreen, have you had a chance to watch any of the majors when there's 20 horse fields running?
Not yet.
Bro, go watch that. It's madness. I mean, imagine 20 horses breaking from the gate and going around turns. And I mean, it's just like when you have a horse in one of those, oh my God, bro, it's so exciting because you're like squinting, trying to be like, which one is, where is mine at? And like, it's chaos because you got horses shooting up, falling back, everything in between. It's really, I mean, nothing compares from a visual, representation, like, the enjoyment of watching a PFL race more than a 20 horse field. I mean, like it's just, and that's where some outlier stuff can happen, man. Because some horses don't like it. You know what I mean? Some horses get spooked when there's tons of horses around them. And
have you seen like crazy slingshots you would see in Zed Run, like last minute, like all the way from the back slingshots?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say it's not as prevalent. Like it's not like a mold like it was in Zed. It's more of a byproduct of how the race set up. And, like if you we primarily see it the most in shorter distance races. Longer distances, horses are typically too fatigued to make a massive slingshot type move. There's too much realness in the game. In real life, at the end of a marathon, no one is hitting a full on their toes sprint for the last
Right.
mile. You know what I mean? So it's more prevalent in sprints, but it absolutely does happen that way. And yeah, you know, when the start of that was, you know, it depends on how the race sets up. Another one that I don't know if I've ever heard anybody talk about this, and you know, may have people laugh at me, but D-Boy, I would like to hear your opinion too.
I love opinions. I love giving them.
I have a hunch, we'll call it. I would not say that I'm like a firm believer in this by any means. However, I have a hunch that higher temper horses will typically do better in full type of fields, specifically when you get into like 20 horse fields. And hear me out. I equate the global grades of a horse, the global like attributes. So start, speed, stamina, finish, heart, temper, right? I think within that global grade, just like Madden, okay? You look at a Madden player's ratings, and it will have, you know, a rating for speed. But then if you go into that speed rating, there's like 4 or 5 ratings that make up the speed rating. It's like change of direction, agility, acceleration. There's all these different things, right? There's like these subgrades that make up a total grade. With that being said, I have a hunch that within temper is a horse's ability to navigate through a large field. So back to the Madden, and remember, Madden is relevant here because the creator of Photo Finish is directly from Madden. So don't tell me that it's not applicable. We all are creatures of what we know. Madden is what he knows, therefore, probably some good indication that some of that's going to carry over to the game design of this game. So if you look at a running back in Madden, okay, and they have, oh my God, I haven't played in multiple years, but they have a sub-trait stat that's called ball carrier vision, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And that's basically like if you're not controlling that running back and you call a running play and you just hand him the ball and let the computer-controlled guy run, is he going to run? Is he going to find the hole? Is he going to run into the back of his own offensive lineman? You know, where is he actually going to choose to run? I have a suspicion that within temper is a ball carrier vision trait, so to speak. And horses with higher temper will navigate through a larger field and not get caught up behind a slower horse or whatever the case may be. Very similar to a ball carrier vision attribute in Madden. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
Unfortunately, I can't give you a real answer because in my stable, we pass down a temper, no matter what, an A+ finish. Those are the 2 genes through the bloodline that I have in the right dirt that literally get passed down through everything. Temper is always bad and finish is always bad, which is really, really, it made me very depressed last week when I actually I was looking at it. Cause I have new 2-year-olds that hit the track, well, 3-year-olds now, but 20 starts, 6 seconds, 5 thirds, 1 win. And I'm like, this isn't real. And then I got to digging and I went through and I looked at all the Foals. A+ finish, A+ finish, A+ finish, A+ temper, A+ temper. So what you said makes sense to me because I guess we could compare temper to greenness and lack of I guess it would be a lack of confidence also. But if you're green, like horses in IRL, when they're considered green, they don't focus. So if you can't focus to navigate, to me, that's low temperish. But what you said with having high temper and being able to navigate through larger fields, it kind of makes sense.
I mean, I don't have data to back it up. It's just this is purely just from things that I've seen and kind of trends that I've kind of noticed and been I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to that. But I've noticed horses that have one of their highest stat attributes, temper, a lot of times do not perform well in like 4-horse fields. But then you put that horse in a 12-horse or more field, and all of a sudden they're running better than they have been in a 4-horse field. And a lot of times that is only equated with heart. And I think that may not be fully correct. I think that I'm not saying temper is only for this. I think that like within each grade, there's multiple subgrades. I think one of the subgrades potentially could be ensuring that you get a clean trick, as we say in real life, right? Because that's a real life thing. I mean, in real life racing, Evergreen,
out of traffic.
There are tons of horses that are by far the fastest horse in the race, but because of whatever, that horse just chooses bad lines, whether it's poor jockeying or the horse itself. It never finds that clear path to just be able to run.
Yeah. Right.
And so, you know, like
from IRL too, it's like you mentioned it. It's like not getting in traffic. The jockey, the first thing they would say to me, all right, what are my instructions? Stay the fuck out of traffic. That's your first.
Make sure we have a clean trip. Yeah.
If I know we have the speed in the race, I want you to get to the front and get out of everyone's way. Catch me if you can. That's what I told them. If it was catch me if you can, that's all I would say. Catch me if you can. And they knew. Hustle to the front and don't let anyone go by if you can.
Right. All right, let's do this duck race.
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Hey, good luck to everybody.
Absolutely.
And Doughboy, you're gonna handle the transfer, right?
Yeah. I'll reach out.
Cool.
Again, I'm gonna do the horse first, and then if you want to stick around for some crown, I'm gonna run it back. But you have to announce yourself as the winner for the horse as well. You have to be here to win. 35 seconds. Good luck.
And if you win this horse and immediately list it, like you're on the shit list.
Listen, I'm indifferent because I mean obviously I don't give expensive horses away, so I understand.
I'm not saying they can't sell it. I'm just saying
I get it.
At least race this horse before you go list it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The slingshot, the red duck on the inside.
Oh, the Ink G.
The Ink G.
Oh.
Haha.
All right. Okay. Is this you? That is you, isn't it?
So Link.
Also, you mentioned earlier that you just retired your first horse.
Okay, so this person does own horses. Awesome.
Yeah, they just retired their first A+ filly and got S+ temper. See, I'm not as lucky.
Let's go. What archetype? Yeah, what archetype is this person in? Are they in left dirt yet, or is this going to be their first one?
I was going to say you can link your stable to me. That's probably the best way to do it because I'm going to need that anyway. You can drop it in the Twitch chat, or you can whisper me on Twitch, whatever you want to do. But yeah, drop your stable. Let me see what you got over there, because this is a big piece. Like, this is a very big piece to add to a newer stable. Yeah, congrats.
Clutch.
Probably doing laps around his house right now. I would. No ink. He might have passed out the computer, honestly.
I think he was in the chat, wasn't he?
He was here. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yep. Perfect. Awesome. Love it. Perfect. I'm gonna leave your name on there as well for the next round. But yeah, you send me that, and I will do the necessary things to get this horse into your stable. But also,
yeah, and whoever the winner is too, I'll go find you on Discord and add you on there. So along with winning, you can also get access to, like, you know, if you have any questions on stuff, feel free to hit me up.
Hey, that's clutch.
Sometimes it'll take me a little bit to get back, but I promise I will get back to you. But yeah, feel free.
Awesome. If you are in Discord, also drop your Discord link. But if you are, then you can go add GVG as well.
Yeah, I'll find him on there. I'll find him through the PFL Discord. So.
Yeah, link LNGK. Link your stable. Right. I'll get that through, and then GVG again. Y'all have to stick around if you want. I'm going to do 2 more giveaways for Crown, and then I really do appreciate this. Is again, whenever I get the OGs on and we go more than 2 hours, that's a good night for me.
Well, good, man. I appreciate it, though, boy. Evergreen, you be good. Stay in touch with me, bro.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Have a good one, bro.
All right. Talk to y'all.
Take it easy, GVG. Thank you.
All right, I'm out too. Appreciate y'all, chat. Appreciate you, Doughboy. That was good. I feel like we covered everything. You know, I try to get a few questions out of him as far as what was his process of getting into the game, and and why he's bullish on it. And then as far as just the shit we went over, all the questions I was asking you, I was able to ask him, so that was tight.
Yeah,
and
like I said, I'm not on the level as he is, obviously, but I do play the game a lot, either from all aspects of it too, like the wagering, breeding, all that. Like I'm in it outside of the the owning it track, which I ain't gonna do all that. Mm-hmm. But interesting to know. Like I said, some people keep their crown, some people don't, some people stake it. But what he did is basically what I've been doing. Obviously, like I was here early, so I was able to stack crown early. But that has basically funded me playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the advantages of being early to things. But even if you're not early, like you can still come in and build a pretty semi-competitive stable, if not competitive stable, with a minimal bankroll. It just, how much work do you want to put in to succeed? That's all it is.
So overall, we got Almighty Sprinter, Big Zaw Sprinter, Arrow, potentially
long distance. Both your left dirt horses are going to be sprinters, likely.
All right.
Those I did the two races I sent you in private chat were for the last horse I think we looked at. They're both graded sprints. No.
Hey, you like my big money race though?
This. I will time out anyone who talks good about RDF. I promise I will.
What is that?
Right Dirt Firm. What I kept you out of.
Oh, okay. Why you hold me back, cuz?
Nah, you don't want that.
I got a race in 2 hours.
Nice.
Yo, everybody join the Serenade Classic. It's only like 19.6.
Don't worry, you're gonna have people in there, and you're gonna learn some stable names on your way too.
So hey, if we win, though,
I don't know. I think that's the one that needs to go longer. So I think that one's probably gonna be the same outcome as the 6 furlong race.
Oh fuck! I was gonna say, should I scratch it and fucking put in the other horse for their tires?
It did work. I mean, you can scratch it. How much is the scratch fee for Crown? Like 25 or something?
For that race?
Yeah.
Shit. Well, my other horses are tires, so I can't scratch it anyways. Or I could, but
the one that you entered in the 7 furlong.
Ooh, 275.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's all right. Expensive lessons, homie.
Hey, I've got okay. I had 60K of Derby. I've got 9K left, but I got 191 crown.
Oh my god. Evergreen. Oh my god. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Let me do these last 2 giveaways.
All right. I appreciate y'all. Catch y'all. I'll see you on the flip.
Good luck. Good luck.
Later.
Perfect. Yes, it did come through. I did get it. I'm gonna run it back again twice, and we're gonna get 2 winners, and I'll send you all some crowns. So if you're here, you have to announce that you're here for the win. Good luck. Yeah, that was everything that I wanted from this stream when GVG reached out and suggested doing it. I wanted to sit back, and I wanted Evergreen to do his thing. Well, Bryce Anguta is obviously not going to win. No team members are allowed to win giveaways on my stream. That's just how it works. No, don't worry, Mats. I'm already there. Egg with the variants. Oh. All right, Egg, announce yourself. Yeah, it'll be on my YouTube, and I'm sure it'll be on my Twitch as well. I mean, I don't really, whatever. I'll do it anyway. For any new players that are here or new people to the stream, if you want to hit the follow button, I go live Mondays and Tuesdays for wagering, and sometimes other days for educational purposes, like tonight. But yeah, this stream will be saved on my YouTube, and it will be on. Shut up, duck. Removed from next race, right? Yes. Egg, are you in here? Please be in here, Egg. You win some giveaways every once in a while, but you have until I guess you have until the end of this one. You have to be here. You're always here. You might have stepped away. Yeah, you're in here still. Don't let me down, Egg. Don't let me down. I'm gonna run it back. If I don't hear from it, I mean, you know what? Egg's OG. I can't not. I'll just run it a third time. Egg's still gonna win his. Ig's OG. Ig's here every single Monday and Tuesday with me, so I'm not taking it. It's my stream, my rules. I ain't taking it back from him. I'll just run it again, so we'll do 3. So Ig gets the first one. Satoshi's out now. All right, here comes, what is this? The clown? Nope. I want to believe that this is going to hold, but there's too much time left on the clock. And you got shot in the head, and Grandma's home. Jay Hines. Jay Hines, another steady viewer. Love that. Jay Hines has to be here. Announce yourself, Jay Hines, please. If not, again, it still stands. Removed from next race. Jay Hines is here. Yep. All right, perfect. Whisper me your Solana wallet, please. And remove from next race. Race again. All right, last one. Good luck to everyone. Yeah, Mondays and Tuesdays is usually another 4-hour stream, but it's mainly focused on handicapping the After Dark and the Monday Mayhem cards. Obviously, if there's downtime in between, we'll do some chat stuff, look at horses, marketplace, future breeds, yada yada, game-related stuff. But also, if you like to hear people tilt off and complain about stuff, boy, do I have a stream for you. You're definitely going to hit Santa Claus is coming to town. Grandpa, let's go. So 3 OGs there. If you like that kind of unhinged nonsense, you're definitely going to want to follow because every Monday and Tuesday I tilt off about something. All right, so Grandpa's Do It Better, Ig, and Jay Hine. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to dude, this is a nice, it's your property, do whatever you want with it, but this is a very nice horse, and this is a very, 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 very nice piece to have in your stable if you want to advance in the game. And I think, did GVG do anything? No, GVG gave the horse away. That's more than enough. So, yeah, I'm going to get that sent over. I appreciate everyone that hung out tonight for 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes, I guess. Couldn't do it without y'all. Need the eyes on it to see it. Y'all help the stats with Twitch. That's even bedlier. Thanks for the gifted subs, Bryce and Viper, and anyone else that I missed. I don't think I missed any. Viper and Bryce. Yes, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate y'all so much. Yeah, dude, back at it next week. I can't imagine there's going to be any more in-middle streams. And now with majors moving to the end of the month, there's some stuff moving around. But Mondays and Tuesdays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, every Monday and Tuesday. I appreciate everyone that was here. Have a good night. Yeah, I really do. I really do appreciate y'all for hanging out. This was fucking dope. I do get more viewers when we do have the roundtable-esque or mini interview stuff now. Yeah. When I have a nice kitchen, I'll do it. I want to. I really do want to do more cooking stuff. I really do. That's what I wanted to do to begin with. But c'est la vie. I lost the kitchen that I used for all the videos that are on my YouTube. Yeah, cooking and capping. That's one night. We'll make dinner and handicap at the same time. See if I can't burn myself or cut my hand off first. But yeah, appreciate everyone. I'm gonna close it down from here. Hit the follow button if you don't mind. My Twitter's linked below if you ever want to reach out and ask questions or anything. I'm always willing to answer. And if I don't have an answer for you, I can help you find one. But everyone, take it easy, and I'll see you next week. And I will reach out to the winners of the giveaways. Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.